Accent.
I don't think that was pot.
Probably wasn't.
That was the first time
It was
Trey
probably
tried meth.
This is Twin Stick Radio, episode 42 for the week of October 30th, 2018. I'm one of your hosts, Trey Higgins, and I'm joined by Chris Rodriguez and Justin T. Lopez.
Hello.
So a bulk of the show is going to be made up talking about Red Dead Redemption. So I figure we just jump straight into the news, knock that out, and then leave as much time for Red Dead as possible.
Well, what if we played other things other than Red Dead?
Did you?
No.
There we go. Mystery solved.
I almost played the Fallout 76 beta before we came over here, but
Doesn't go live for 2 hours.
yeah, like the little
The window.
timer on the window, it's all beep and it's like ready and it just like, but then nothing happened. So it's like, never mind. I guess I won't play before we come over here.
But you'll have that next week, right? What day does it come out on?
The 30th.
30.
No, just kidding. November the 28th.
Really?
I think. I don't know. I'm guessing. I would assume the end of November.
We looked this up the other week, and I just don't remember.
November 16th.
November 14th.
November
I think
28th.
you're right. November 14th.
November 14th.
Very close.
You completely guessed.
No.
You were like, oh, my favorite number's 14. I'm going to say that one.
Oh, did you
Not my
say
favorite.
14?
I did.
Oh, I wasn't even listening to you.
I'm Nostradamus.
If you
No,
guys
that's
have...
not how that works. He would have predicted it was coming out November the 14th, 2018, 600 years ago.
Who's Nostradamus?
Did you ask me 600 years ago?
No, we weren't alive 600 years ago.
Maybe you
now,
were.
if you tell me something is coming out in 600 years and you would be super vague about it to where people who read it 600 years later are going to be like, he's totally talking about this, but he's really not, then I'll believe you're
Can
Nostradamus.
you explain the reference? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, that was a pretty good explanation of Nostradamus.
That didn't make any sense.
No. I mean, I guess if you know. He's
Yeah, that's a good explanation of Nostradamus, but you're just not going to understand it if you don't know who Nostradamus is.
He's someone who made a ton of predictions.
Can we stop real quick? How the fuck do you not know who Nostradamus is? You're
Why?
a college. You are a college student.
Okay, like... I don't know. I don't have any excuses for why I don't know things.
He was a guy about 600 years ago that did make just a shit ton of predictions, wrote them all down, and for the most part, if you read them in a certain way, they 100% came true.
Like
9/11, he talks about two metal burning towers taken down by two mechanical birds.
Okay.
So
I think that's like the first time that I've ever been like, I believe in magic. I mean, because you said 600 years ago, right?
yeah, maybe
That's crazy.
that's a total estimate. It could have been 2,000 years ago. I don't remember when Nostradamus was alive.
But like,
to be
let's
completely
assume that
honest.
it's before the 1700s. Okay, the idea of like a metal building is kind of like
A metal, he said
a metal tower,
sure.
But like a metal tower, like
Sure.
it's not something you can find in nature.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna have to look this guy up.
Yeah, no,
He's a believer. We just converted him.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, he's got a whole shit ton of prophecies.
Any
that-
relation to Nosferatu?
No, Nosferatu's
Distant
fake, and he's a
cousins.
weird ass vampire. That doesn't make sense.
If you guys haven't listened to us before, we are a podcast about video games. We record weekly, and we are up on Wednesdays now. So
Hooray!
keep an eye out on that. We started this show.
At least last week we were up on Wednesday. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
Consistency.
We start the show by usually talking about what we've been playing, but we're going to save that for later and jump straight into the news. I tried to curate this list.
Did I play Destiny? I did not play Destiny. I had to think.
I tried to curate this list because I didn't want to pick like 1,000 things, but also I wanted to pick the most important things. I ended up with 6 items, but these are all like the interesting things that happened this week. So it's not like we're really missing out on anything. First up, Xbox Game Pass will be coming to PC in the future, according to Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella in his fiscal year 2019 earnings call. No further details were shared about how exactly it'll make its way to PC.
I thought that was already a thing. Like,
So-
how the hell did I play State of Decay then if I didn't do Xbox Game Pass?
When I read it, it sounds like, because that's what I thought too. I was like, there's already games that are like you can play that on PC. Apparently, it's not just going to be the what do they call
games.
it? The Microsoft games are like the Play Anywhere games.
Oh, okay.
They're going to expand it beyond that.
Oh, okay.
It seems as though, based off of just kind of the idea of bringing it there, it sounds like you're going to have access to most of the catalog of the games on PC.
Oh,
So like The Division is on Xbox Game Pass, right?
which you can play on PC already through Xbox Game Pass.
You can't.
I thought you could.
You can't. You
No,
can
that's
only
one
do
of-
Microsoft games.
That was one of those Xbox only.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in whenever the future is, you're going to be able to play The Division for free on Xbox Game Pass. At least that's what it sounds like.
And can you connect with Xbox users?
I think I actually wonder how that will work on PC, right? Because most Ubisoft games run through
The
the
UB launcher.
Ubi launcher.
Uplay. There we go. That's it.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't know. And I thought they were already a thing. I was like, then how the hell did I play State of Decay?
Yeah, it's just
Okay.
Microsoft games.
You're Nostradamus.
What's your Game Pass subscriber? You could have easily played Forza.
I stopped paying for GameSpace.
Oh, that seems silly. If I was on Xbox, like, do you feel like you would pay monthly for Games Pass if you were on Xbox? Like, if the Xbox was your primary console?
No, because Microsoft games aren't that good.
I feel like I would still pay for it.
Yeah, I would have no desire to play Forza. State of Decay is only $30. And then like Microsoft games that are like a thing there, I don't care about them.
Once we start streaming again, that I'll probably then get back into it. Because then it gives me the opportunity to like, oh, I want to change it up. Let's play this. Let's play this. I have a bigger library to go to.
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves.
No, thank you.
But yeah, I mean, the way I play games, it's like I'll play the same game for
Yeah.
forever.
And then another thing, it's like, you know, you have to weigh like, okay, how many Microsoft games would I buy within the year? Is it worth the $120? Or if I'm only going to buy Halo and State of Decay in 1 year for Microsoft games, that's less than $120, so it's not worth paying for Game Pass.
If Xbox was my primary console, I kind of feel like I would subscribe to it because
On top of the 60 for Xbox Live.
yeah, because there's also other games that are on it. Like, it's not just I wouldn't just be paying for it for the Microsoft games. I'd be paying for it for the random other games that I might never buy, like The Division, right?
That rotating
Sure, I
library.
get it.
of games, yeah.
But I think the other reason why I would pay for it is for the opportunity to play games I wouldn't normally play. Like,
Yeah, I
Forza is a game
guess.
every year. Every year they announce a Forza game, and every year I'm like, I kind of want to play that. But I'm never going to drop $60 on a Forza game
Play
ever.
it for 30 minutes and like, whoa.
Yeah.
What is I don't understand the difference between alloy aluminum or, you know, carbon fiber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want the opportunity to play for 30 minutes,
Sure,
and that's
just
worth
say, yeah.
$10 a month for a year.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an extra money sink that I don't think it'd be worth it to me personally.
I think the catalog is just, it's not amazing, right? It's not the best like streaming games catalog ever, but it's actually probably the best because there's not a lot of comparisons. But it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's PlayStation Now sure as hell doesn't compare to it. So,
Yeah.
but that's what GameFly. That's why GameFly exists.
Yeah.
Does GameFly still exist?
Yeah,
It does.
Dude, yeah, it totally exists.
Wasn't-
Apparently, it's thriving.
Yeah, it was in the news like a week or two
Yeah.
ago because they had to delay their Red Dead giving out because they didn't get copies until like the end of, or until this
Well, that
week.
was the whole third party
crazy.
thing. It's like
Yeah.
not third party. Like smaller video game shops weren't getting copies of Red Dead.
And GameFly was included in the smaller.
GameFly is not a GameStop. GameFly doesn't sell video games. Rockstar is going to ship games to somebody who's going to sell the game, not rent it out for their own profit.
Netflix should just buy out GameFly, and then
Can you still get physical DVDs from Netflix?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff on their catalog that you can only get through
Yeah,
DVD.
yeah.
If I want to watch Desperate Housewives, I can get the DVDs for it. Desperate Housewives is a good show. I don't care. Don't judge me.
Okay. All right. Next on the Sex and the
next
City
on-
podcast.
PlayStation has revealed the full lineup for the PS Classic. It is as follows. Let's all take turns. I'll go first, and then Justin, and then Chris, okay?
I'm not going to participate in this.
Okay, I'll go first, and then Justin, and then me, okay?
okay.
Battle Arena Toshinden.
Does anybody know what that is?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Nope.
Cool Borders 2.
Does anybody know what that is?
No.
Okay.
Definitely not.
Destruction Derby.
Anybody?
Nope.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 7.
How many times did you have to look at that to make sure you got the number right?
I knew it, but I just wanted to double check.
Grand Theft Auto.
The original one?
Original one.
Nice.
Intelligent.
I don't like this.
Cube?
Trey, just say it.
He's not going fast enough. He's going like a 4-year-old.
I'm giving time to discuss
Jumping
games.
Flash.
Metal Gear Solid.
Mr. Driller.
Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey.
Rayman.
Resident Evil Director's Cut.
Revelations Persona.
Ridge Racer Type 4.
Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo.
Siphon Filter?
Yes. Tekken 3.
Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six.
Twisted Metal.
Wild Arms.
So did you not know how to say siphon, or did you not know what the game is?
I questioned how to pronounce Siphon.
Got it.
Yeah. A lot of people are mad about this list.
Why?
Well,
They don't have control over a list of fucking games. You can't get mad at something you don't have control over.
well, if we start quantifying the, like that as a reason for why people should be mad, then literally no one on the internet should be mad ever. But
Gosh.
a lot of people are frustrated that there's a bunch of games on that list that no one knows about.
Yeah, for real. Like, I have no idea what at least the first 3 are. I don't
Yeah.
know what Intelligent Cube is. I feel like I've heard of Jumping Flash. All the rest I know. Actually, so the four games on here that I've never heard of, which is pretty damn good.
I only know for sure 9 of the games, and I'm going to ask a really dumb question because I feel like it's in the title of the game, but Revelations Persona, is that the first Persona game?
I don't know, actually.
Yeah,
I never played the first Persona.
Because it's like weird and different. It was like
Very.
a side story for another
Yeah.
series, and then it turned into its
Wild
own thing.
Arms is a damn good RPG. Twisted Metal, oh yeah, Twisted Metal is a fucking great game.
Classic.
Yeah.
But like some people wanted, I don't know, Spyro, Crash, all that's not on there.
yeah, but
Which-
then
Well, that takes away the sales from the
Yeah, maybe,
remasters
yeah,
that they
maybe.
just made.
But that's the second point about this PlayStation Classic is that a lot of these games are have remakes out there.
sure, Resident Evil's out there. Well, not really. It's Resident Evil, Street Fighter.
Final Fantasy VII has one in the works.
Sure, if that
Metal
ever
Gear Solid, I
fucking
think, has
comes
a
out.
remaster of the first
I don't
one.
think the first one does have a remaster.
I think it did. I think it came out on GameCube.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. So like 3 or 4 on this list have a remaster.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I agree with them, but you know,
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a. If I was going to sit down at Sony and say, let's take how many 15, 19, how many 20 classic PlayStation games from PlayStation 1, a lot of these wouldn't have made my list. We're talking like classic games. You know what I
Well,
mean?
And they hit it on the nose with a lot of them, right? Like
Sure.
Grand Theft Auto, Final Fantasy VII, Metal Gear.
Sure.
It's like those are perfect. But yeah, it does kind of feel weird that a PlayStation Classic is coming out, and I know that they have remasters out there, but it just seems weird that Crash and Spyro aren't on there.
Well, I mean, Resident Evil 2. Resident Evil Director's Cut's fine, but Resident Evil 2 is the Resident Evil that put Resident Evil on the map.
was Resident Evil 4 on PS2?
No, it was GameCube.
Oh,
Came out
yeah.
on GameCube first, and then it came
Yeah.
out on PS2. Yeah, like, I mean, Resident Evil 2 is the game that put Resident Evil on the map, right? That's, I mean, it's just, but it takes away from the Resident Evil 2 sales in January or whatever that's going to be.
Part of me feels like, I guess part of me, because it's the second time that point's been brought up, part of me kind of believes that it doesn't take away from those sales.
No?
Like, if I was, so I'm a big fan of Resident Evil, right?
Are you?
No.
Oh, okay.
But like, I meant to pose
Got
that
it.
as hypothetical. I would buy the PS Classic to be like, oh man, like this is cool. I have Resident Evil 2 in here, but I would still be buying Resident Evil 2 Director's Cut.
Maybe. I
Or like
guess.
if I was a big Spyro fan, I would totally buy this if Spyro was on it, but I would still be
You would-
buying the
you-
Spyro trilogy.
Yeah, but
That's
you
fair.
would spend $100. I mean, not just for Spyro. You're getting 20 games, but to a Spyro fan, they're spending $100 just for Spyro when they can just go take their old PlayStation and just put in Spyro and play it. It's the same thing, just emulated on this thing. You know
Well,
what I mean?
If this was Trey in this alternate universe where he had a PlayStation as a kid and really liked Spyro, I would probably not have a PlayStation.
See, that's
Classic.
that's another really good point. You didn't have a PlayStation as a kid because
Yeah.
you're too young for that. I did.
I wasn't too young. It's just I was a
you were a
Nintendo
Nintendo
kid.
kid.
I had a PlayStation.
I didn't ask you.
Well, but I was just saying he wasn't too young for a PlayStation.
Some of our listeners may be too young for a PlayStation,
Mm-hmm.
and these aren't games that I would like sell a PlayStation
Mm-hmm.
on. Sure, a couple of them, Metal Gear, Wild Arms, but like I don't know. Maybe I'm also thinking like PlayStation 2 really put PlayStation on the map.
Well,
as
it's the
far
same-
as classic gaming console.
It's the same for me. Like I never really owned or played an NES.
Yeah.
I didn't play a lot of stuff on N64. I love the SNES, but there was only like a limited number of games.
Sure.
But the day they make a GameCube classic,
Sure.
I'm gonna be all over that shit because that was like
Which
I was
now-
like 7 or 8. That was like the perfect age.
which now they should be able to, right? Since
I
it's a
don't see why
CD,
not.
since it's a CD-ROM.
We're in that.
Yeah, we're
Zone,
getting there now.
the era.
I don't know. Nintendo's also 10 years behind, so maybe they haven't figured that out.
So
I don't know. In this case, I feel like they're 2 years ahead.
2030. No, because they're just putting cartridge data on a little box. These guys are taking like CD data.
Well, yeah, but they're also going in chronological order. Like if it's kind of.
Yeah, but didn't we read somewhere that like we'll never see anything past 64 because the cartridge shit it's different for Nintendo. Like the cartridge stuff is easy to emulate. The CD stuff is not.
I don't remember seeing that, but I there's a weird thing about Nintendo where they kind of just ignore the GameCube era.
Which is terrible. That's a great console.
Yeah, I think the GameCube is among their best as far as like actual home consoles go.
I agree.
Console with a handle on it.
Yeah,
can't beat that.
Pokemon Coliseum. Oh, that was a great game.
Super Smash Brothers Melee. The sequel to Rogue Squadron.
Animal Crossing.
Twilight Princess. Still one of my favorite Zeldas.
It's so funny to me that you associate that game with the GameCube.
That's because Wii sucks.
I know. Well, the thing about the Wii, though, is that it does have a lot of like the best Nintendo, or a lot of great Nintendo games on it. Not the best.
Sure.
Wii Sports.
That's a great game.
Yeah, it is a great game.
Mario Galaxy.
That's all I needed.
That awesome Fire Emblem game that came out on the Wii.
I think I still have that disc.
Yeah, the one that's worth a lot of money.
Yeah, Radiant Dawn. That was a great game. Man, that was a good game.
There's a disc worth a lot of money. What?
There's a Fire Emblem that came out on the Wii, and it's semi-rare, I guess now.
Oh.
And I have it because it's Fire Emblem.
I keep getting. Did you on YouTube? They've been advertising a new Nintendo mobile game that I knew nothing about.
Oh yeah, the little Japanese,
like
the little RPG game. I saw that. I don't know what it is.
Speaking of Nintendo, the Nintendo Switch appears to be doing well. In an earnings report, Nintendo revealed that over the last 6 months, the Switch sold more than 5 million units. This brings its total sales up to almost 23 million units sold since its launch. Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart Deluxe, and Super Mario Odyssey have all sold over 10 million units, and a total of 42 million copies of Switch software have been sold, meaning the attachment rate of the Switch is over 2 games per Switch owner. The Switch has doubled the sales of the Wii U and overtaken the GameCube's total sales figures. According to data from EA in May 2018, Microsoft had sold about 30 million Xbox One consoles by the end of 2017, though Microsoft claims that number isn't accurate. At the time, in May, PS4 was sitting at at the end of 2017, PS4 was sitting at 73 million units sold, but Sony recently reported that the company is currently sitting at 86.1 million units sold.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
I wouldn't tout like we've sold 2 games per system. Like that's not. I guess that's good, but not really.
I would be really...
You're not wrong. I mean, it's not very good, actually.
I feel like I would be really curious to see what the attachment rate for PS4 and Xbox One is.
Over the course of its life?
Or over the course of...
Well, I would want to see how it was a year later, right? A year and a half later.
Okay.
But I would also want to see what it is now to see how much the number's grown. Like, obviously, like that number probably isn't... 1 copy per PlayStation.
I would say 4 to 5 games per console sold. That's what I would guess.
I was going to say 5 or 6.
Well, the thing that like kind of throws me off about it is 4 or 5 is probably reasonable because you have like those people out there like us that
we buy
like
a shit ton of games, but there's people out there.
But then the people that just buy Madden,
Call of Duty,
like every year.
But then even then, those guys play Call of Duty, they play Madden, they play Red Dead Redemption apparently, and they
2K.
play. And maybe 2K. Yeah, even then, even like the dude bro is still probably buying 3, 4, maybe 5 games a year.
Yeah,
maybe. I don't know. It doesn't seem like two games per units sold is just not something I would tote.
I'm also curious to know if that number is physical or digital. Because
either way, it doesn't.
To me, it sounds well. My point being that, like,
oh, you're thinking that is only one end of the spectrum. It doesn't include both.
I mean, with Nintendo, it might not because they don't really ever report their digital sales.
Sure.
I don't know.
Again, and another thing is like it's great that Zelda, Mario, and both Mario games. Those are the ones that have sold over 10 million units. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
However, you have this third-party support you're trying to tote, and like your top-selling games aren't even third-party stuff, which is Nintendo. You can't blame them for that. It's something that's not disconcerting. It's just like, that sucks.
It's all this stuff that's really weird about the gaming industry, though, right? Because I mean, it's Nintendo. Nintendo games are always going to do better on their consoles.
Sure.
But what is a successful third-party launch on the Switch like? Because I don't think anyone that's launching a game on the Switch is like, we're going to sell 10 million units. I feel like...
Kirby? Nope, that's Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Well, and if you look at like a couple
know.
of their other games, like I think Mario Tennis is sitting at like 2 million.
Sure.
Donkey Kong Country's like at 1.5 million. So like you have like these outliers that are on the super high end of the spectrum. But I would just be curious to be like, Bethesda, what is a successful game to you on the Switch?
Sure. It's also just weird that so they're at 23 million units sold, and the top 3 Switch games have only sold over 10 million units apiece. You would think, I would have thought Mario Odyssey would have been extremely close to that number. That
Mario
total.
Odyssey's exact number is 12 million.
Yeah, see, that's crazy. I honestly would have. I would have thought Mario Odyssey or Mario Kart would have been closer to that 23 million. What are people buying then?
I think well. So let's take away the 5 million, right? Let's take away the 5 million that sold in the last month.
So we're at 20. Is that 7? Okay, so it's
16
last 6
million.
months. We're at 17 million.
17 million. We're at 17 million. 12 million compared to that 17 million, like that's a decent number.
Sure.
I would guess, my guess would be a lot of people have bought Switches because they're waiting for Pokemon and Super Smash Bros.
Why are we taking away the 5 though?
Well, the reason why I would take away the 5 is, why is the Switch selling in the last 6 months? Well, E3 happened.
Sure.
They announced the release
Super
date for
Smash
Smash
Brothers.
Brothers. They announced Let's Go.
So people are
that
just
time.
going buying a Switch and just waiting,
Shit,
not
I
buying a
think
game
so.
with
There
it,
are like 3 people at my work that all just bought a Switch recently.
and not with any game. They're just sitting.
They
on
might
it.
have gotten like Mario Kart or
So
something.
that's what I
but-
mean. It's like, and that's it. Nobody goes in. Well, gift givers buy just consoles. But if you're going to go buy a console, you're not going to just buy the console. You're going to buy something else with it. I agree with your point that I don't think digital's in here. I think this is just physical copies. Because there's no way in hell Mario Odyssey isn't at 17 million.
But
I just don't believe that.
That's a really good number though. Like even like Sony doesn't do, even back when their sales weren't 86 million units, they weren't doing 50% of their attach rate almost.
What do you mean?
They weren't doing 50% of their attach rate with first party titles. It wasn't like
I mean, maybe not at launch, but over the course of 3 years, yeah, I would think so. Like Uncharted or Last of Us.
I don't think those are at 50% of
You don't think so?
Unless like they're including bundles.
Well,
which
no,
people have bought bundles of
sure,
that
I
stuff,
mean, you
but-
would totally have to include bundles because it's a part of a SKU.
The only game that I could see like getting even anywhere close to that number is Spider-Man.
Sure.
I don't
Yeah.
see God of War, Uncharted, Bloodborne,
Maybe
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Maybe God of War. Maybe God of War's hit 30 million units.
Maybe,
Yeah.
but that's still not 50%.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. All this is curious to me, but I also think the most frustrating thing about this is about like doing the research on this was that we still just don't have really good numbers from Xbox.
We never will.
I know.
It's low.
Well,
I mean, it's not low. It's not as good as somebody else, so they're not going to report on it. And it's just Microsoft.
Well,
if Microsoft was winning, we'd have all their numbers, dude, easily.
yeah,
They weren't shy about reporting 360 numbers at all.
I get that. I understand that. But to me, as a consumer and also as someone who's bought Microsoft software in the Xbox One era, your sales don't matter to me. I just want to know. I just want a jumping off point to compare, like, who's
Sure.
playing what? Where are they playing at?
Yeah, but we're the minority, though. Like, not everybody needs to know that. That's a dumb thing.
I feel like if not everyone needs to know that, then most people don't care. So you don't lose anything by just fucking telling us the number,
true.
Microsoft.
Well, it's not telling us; it's telling their investors. That's where they get hurt. That's where they get hurt at. If they were actually to like, well, maybe they are reporting to their investors.
I would
don't
hope
know.
they would be.
No, I mean, you don't have to. If they don't ask, then there's no point. There's no point in reporting.
I guess that's true.
But I don't know.
I don't know if there's like
fucking know.
meetings, I don't know,
Clue.
investor meetings.
I have no idea.
I
feel like just Phil Spencer's in his like laying in his money bed, drinking his money wine, with
Out of his money
head
glass?
Yeah, out of his money glass with his head on his money pillow. His probably playing with his money penis. I don't know what he's
Bill
I don't know
Gates
what
is
he does.
massaging his money
Yeah,
feet.
exactly. Or he's massaging Bill Gates' money feet.
Speaking of investors, Epic Games announced Friday that the company has received a total investment of $1.25 billion from a group of 7 investors. The funds will be used for esports and partnerships in technology, among other things. Previous investors for the Battle Royale game include Disney, Tencent, and Endeavor.
It's ridiculous.
It's a lot of fucking money.
All for a game that just looks like a shitty mod of something else.
It's like one of Ninja's paychecks.
I know, seriously.
Yeah.
All for a fucking game that just, it's whatever.
You really don't like Fortnite.
I don't like Fortnite, especially like apparently Call of Duty does Battle Royale way better because they built it as a mode from the ground up, not just a shitty mod from an already existing game like everything else is.
Apparently, right now they're having some server issues with. I was listening to someone talk about it on a podcast, and they were saying like, and the time it takes them to draw their gun, they're already dead because they're seeing things late. Or they'll be walking and they'll be like kind of like a rubber banding thing, and their guy will just be dead. So, which is, I don't think that's a huge problem.
No, it's totally not.
Like
a huge problem.
it took Fortnite and PUBG like an entire year to figure their shit out.
PUBG still hasn't figured their shit out.
Well, I mean, for a battle royale game specifically. So I feel like we can give Treyarch a little bit of a break.
Of course, especially since it's their first go at it, and I think the map's bigger than Fortnite and PUBG. Like the map's huge, apparently.
I would say for sure bigger than Fortnite.
Yeah.
I don't know about PUBG. PUBG's pretty big.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Apple claims that the new iPad Pro can deliver the same graphics performance as the Xbox One X. That's supposed to be an X, in spite of the fact that the tablet is 94% smaller and without the need for a AC cord. It is also. They also said that it is faster than 92% of portable PCs currently available in the market, and that it's 1,000 times faster than the first generation iPad. The new iPad will be released on November 7th and will range in price from $799 to $999, depending on its size.
What's a portable PC mean? Is that a laptop?
Laptop.
So Apple's telling me,
or a Surface. Maybe.
Apple's telling me that their not $1,000 iPad is better than a $3,000 built from the ground up gaming laptop.
Well, I feel like that makes up the 8%, right?
They did say 92% of portable PCs,
but it can deliver the exact same graphic performance as the Xbox One X.
Yes, that was supposed to be an X.
That
not
makes
an S.
that statement so much crazier than whenever I first read it.
I don't believe it in any way, shape, or form.
But here's the thing: like you're charging $800 to $1,000. I'm sure Microsoft could make that happen if they're not charging $500 for a box.
Sure.
Right. Like part of what you pay for when you drop that $500 is like that form factor.
Sure.
If you were willing to spend $1,000 on an Xbox One X, I guarantee you they could like put that thing in a fucking toaster and it'd work.
So they have. So Apple's telling me they have the equivalent of a 1080 Ti or GTX Ti, whatever the fuck it is, in an iPad now.
That's what they're saying. We'll find out next week.
You ever seen that scene in Ace Ventura when he turns around and like spreads his butt cheeks open? He's all rah, 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 rah. That's literally Apple right now.
Talking out their ass.
Oh, hard.
Yeah.
Just hard. Because what's going to end up happening is somebody's going to buy this, and
Lots of people.
So here's the problem: am I going to be able to play Red Dead Redemption on an Apple iPad?
Well, that was going to be my point. Probably
not. You can tout, oh yeah, we can totally replicate Xbox One X graphics. Okay, well let's fucking try it. Let's put Red Dead on your freaking on your platform, and let's see if it actually does. But what ends up going to happening is people are going to buy this, and there's not going to be any games that are going to take advantage of these graphics, so we're never going to know.
That was going to be my point, is that like ultimately I don't think any of that matters because people aren't gaming on their iPads. Now if
they could, I'm sure they would.
If Apple wants to come out and be like, hey, like we're getting all these third-party developers to release these games on here, come play Red Dead, come play Destiny 2, come do this, come do that. Fuck yeah.
Hell
cool.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome
sweet.
That I could have a portable Red Dead Redemption 2 machine.
Bluetooth to a SCUF controller or something like that. Hell yeah, that sounds great, but we're never going to see that because we're going to see Angry Birds X version, whatever the
Candy
fuck it
Crush
is. Yeah.
4K.
Yeah.
And it just comes down to this thing like with Apple where it's like, why does this need to exist if you're not using it to its full potential?
Doesn't. Here's a new iPhone.
I think that sums up Apple in general.
Here's a new iPhone. It's the exact same as the other iPhone, except we added an X in it.
Well, shit, not this year. The fucking like basic model is $800 and it doesn't even have a front-facing camera on it.
This is the new iPhone. It's like last year's. I'm sorry, 2 years ago. Nope. When was the last time Apple didn't have a front facer?
I literally can't think of a time that their phones didn't have a front-facing camera.
It had to have been before 2010.
No.
Because iPod Touches back in 2010 had front-facing cameras.
I would guess, my guess would be that if it wasn't on the original iPhone, it was probably on the iPhone 2.
Man, Apple. Now I'm just thinking about all the things. It's like, hey, we've gotten rid of the headphone jack. You're welcome.
They don't even...
Like, what?
But it's fucking worked.
Now they don't even come with a dongle. They used to sell the phones with the dongle so you could plug an auxiliary cord in and it would work. Now they don't come with that.
But it totally worked. I can't tell you how many of those fucking earpods that I see on campus every single day.
Oh, the AirPods?
Yeah, like people have literally these are people that are buying stuff on their parents. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say people have got their parents to buy these AirPods quite a bit.
But like I see them all the fucking time, and even me, I love Apple headphones. I do. I exclusively, if I'm gonna buy earbuds, I'm gonna buy the Apple earbuds. I buy like a new pair every 3 or 4 months, and I'm happy with that.
This one came with AKG headphones. AKG is a very reputable sound. Audio, what would you call a headphone?
Manufacturer?
No, just I guess a manufacturer of audio quality headphones. Like AKG is used in a bunch of studios around the world, and like this phone came with AKG headphones.
Yeah,
they sound great.
I love, but anyway,
sure, yeah, sorry.
I love that. I love Apple headphones, but I can't imagine myself ever buying the fucking AirPods.
I just don't.
But people do it. People are totally down. They're like, yeah, fuck, I can't.
It's because it's Apple. That's why. It's literally because it's Apple.
You're not
Which
wrong.
is why this is going to sell.
Of course it is. It's going to sell hard, man. Apple's going to make freaking billions of money penises out of this.
Yeah. They'll have like a money penis farm.
They'll compare their money penis to Phil Spencer's and be like, who's bigger?
Last up, and a good segue into the main portion of our podcast today, Red Dead Redemption 2 had the largest opening weekend for any entertainment property in history. The Western sequel was able to sell through $725 million in copies over 3 days. This number represents actual units sold to customers rather than copies on shelves.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Holy shit.
Rockstar hasn't shared the exact number of units sold, but sell-through numbers suggest the title has sold more than 10 million units. There's no dollar sign that needs there. For comparison, Avengers Infinity War is the best film opening weekend at $257 million. Hang with me here. This is where it gets confusing. Red Dead is the second highest grossing launch of all time, with Grand Theft Auto 5 sitting at number 1. The difference between the two launches comes down to the fact that GTA 5 launched on a Tuesday rather than a Friday.
Yeah, so we looked that up. So, like, opening weekends consist from the day it launches to the next Sunday. So that's why Grand Theft Auto 5, GTA had 5 days to garner an opening weekend,
and Red
Dead only had 3 days.
Yeah.
So,
but
yeah, when he told me that, I was like, "Oh, that's actually really impressive." And he's like, "No, of all entertainment." And I go, "Well, like, does that include movies?" He's like, "Yes." It's like, "Oh my god, it beat like highest grossing movies of all time. Mm-hmm. Like, it beat Avengers, which is the highest grossing movie of all time.
Pretty much
in an opening weekend.
Pretty much everyone that I know, whether they're gamers, whether they're on like at work." Everyone has this game.
It's insane, dude. Whitney and I went to go eat at Thai Racha in New Braunfels, Texas, and there was 2 random just dudes that were at first talking about their quarterly statements that they needed to get finished for their shitty-ass, boring office job, and then all of a sudden they're talking about Red Dead. And it's like, what the fuck? Who are you two?
I was telling Chris, I work at a movie theater, and over the past like 2 or 3 weeks, we've been busier than we should be for this time of year. And this weekend came in and we were like overscheduled. Everyone was there. And we died hardcore on Friday. And my manager was like, I don't understand like why we're so slow today. Like, it doesn't make sense. We've been so busy the last couple of weeks. And I was like, it's because Red Dead came out. Now, I don't know for sure, but I guarantee you it had something to do with it.
I'm sure it does.
Based on these numbers?
Based
I
on
would
numbers
say
like
it
that, I would say so, yeah.
had some sort of impact.
Like, had I been off on Friday, I would not have left the house. I might have, like, gone to get something to eat, but, like, I would not be going out to see a fucking movie or hang out anywhere else. I would have been at home the entire day playing.
Sure.
Well, it's like I was saying earlier before we started recording. This is the first game in a long time that I have stayed up like in the early hours of the morning to just play it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah. So you guys want to talk about Red Dead now?
Nope.
Nope.
no, we're done.
All right, end of the episode. Nothing big to talk about.
Did you see, before we get into Red Dead, did you see the WoW pacifist? He plays a monk panda on WoW. His whole thing is like he just
Moving that away from your face is not going to keep the sound from hitting the microphones.
No, I did it so that I wouldn't hit my head when I was grabbing it.
I thought you moved it away so it wouldn't pick up the sound of the can opening.
as he moves it closer to the can. Nope. But there's
Such a satisfying noise. I feel like I gave everyone a gift.
so there's this guy who plays this monk panda who he only gains experience from picking flowers and mining cores, and he just reached level 120 yesterday.
Speaking of World of
Go get a
Warcraft,
job, dude. Holy shit.
speaking of World of Warcraft, I started playing it last week. I didn't. There's not much to talk about. I like it, but until Red Dead, like I'm not going to be able to focus a lot on it.
Right. You
Yeah.
picked a good week to start, I guess.
Well, I mean, it was like a 2 or 3 day period. where
There
there
was
like
also the free
nothing
trial.
going on.
I don't
Oh,
think-
that's
I don't
true.
think-
No, I bought a sub.
Oh, did you buy it? Okay.
Yeah, I haven't bought Battle for Azeroth, but I have a sub.
Okay.
Are you going to keep paying for it while you have Red Dead, or are you going to
I really don't think So I'm going to play Red Dead, of course, and I'm going to get a lot of time out of it. But I really think it's going to be like a 2-week period where I'm playing it, because the way that I'm playing it right now, like, there's no reason why I shouldn't get to a point where like I'm probably going to be done with it until Red Dead Online comes out in like 2 weeks.
The way you play it, there's no way you're going to finish Red Dead in 2 weeks. There's just no way.
I mean, I've been putting out a decent up until like the last 3 days where I've been like really busy. I've been putting a decent amount of time into it.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't see that happening.
Well, let's get into it. Topic of the week.
Red Dead came out on Friday. We've all played it. Did you play it, Ev? Probably not. You've been working and all that. Okay, so if you guys... We'll be talking about the early stuff in Valentine. So I would say the first couple like companion missions in Valentine. If you haven't started the game, if you haven't gotten past like the essentially the tutorial, if you haven't started Chapter 2... Because once you get to Valentine, that's Chapter 2, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once you set up camp. Once you set up camp, that's when Chapter 2 starts.
Yeah, so we won't be going much further than kind of just the initial discovery of Valentine, because Justin hasn't gone further than that.
Cool.
Okay? All right. And then obviously, like, ambient world stuff, like, it's fair game. So, all right,
Sure,
where do you guys want to start?
I'm interested to hear why you were saying earlier that you restarted your game.
Oh, we can talk about that a little bit. So, apparently, I'm just a really evil person in Red Dead.
No.
My favorite hobby is lassoing people as I ride by on a horse or carriage, and then pulling them off and dragging them and letting them go.
Man, we play Red Dead way different.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like appalled at Trey's actions in Red Dead Redemption 2.
I can say honestly, like with this game, I play it so different than I play like GTA. Like GTA, I felt like there were no repercussions for anything that I did.
That's because there's not.
But with this, it's like if I kill people, like there's bounties and like they just stay on you.
Sure.
It's
Well,
like,
it's a couple other bad things that I've done. There's a guy that wants to sell you a map, and I robbed him instead of buying the map, even though it was only $10.
$10.
Yeah, because he was
Robbed
going
the man
off on a
for
trip.
$10.
He was going off on a trip overseas and was never going to come back.
He was also petty enough that after losing a gun competition with a tiny Mexican man, he killed the Mexican man
Yeah, because I didn't want to lose.
because
any
he
of my
didn't want to
money.
lose $10. $10.
so you just killed him and then took it back?
$10.
Yeah. And then later on, I was running with my horse. This was an actual accident. I was running with my horse, and I was trying to figure out how to throw dynamite because I was trying to throw it onto this carriage. And I accidentally dropped the dynamite next to my horse and completely obliterated my horse. So yeah, like, and so going back to the whole consequences thing, I really like the honor system. Because I feel like they reward you with whatever honor you're trying to get.
Sure.
Like often enough. But it doesn't go up so fast. It's not like you hit like max Paragon super fast or anything. But it also like people treat you differently. So it's starting to get to the point where like my honor was so low that I would walk into town and the first thing people would say to me is like, don't cause trouble. Like, if you're going to cause trouble, get the fuck out of town. Or like I'd walk into a bar and the bartender would give me shit. I started to feel bad about the things I was doing, which is really different than, like you said, Grand Theft Auto. Because in Grand Theft Auto, there are absolutely no consequences for anything. No one treats you differently. You get a wanted level, you get away from it. But like if I run around town and go on a killing spree and kill 100 pedestrians just by running over them with my car, no one recognizes that I did that. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like having this honor system is a nice way to like make me behave in a Rockstar game, which is why I restarted, because I was like, I don't want to be a bad guy.
You're making Arthur a terrible person.
No, I'm not. Not anymore.
In Red Dead Online, you are you are a bad guy.
I was, and then I deleted my profile, so that guy never
Arthur
existed.
Morgan is a bad guy.
Yeah.
You are a bad guy.
I see what you're saying.
However, are you an honorable bad guy, or are you just an asshole like Micah? That's the question.
That is, we were talking about this earlier. That is one of the disconnects about the honor system, though, is that it's kind of based off of good and bad deeds and not necessarily like whether or not your guy has honor. Like, did you help the guy get his horse?
No.
Did you take the lady back to town?
I think I was kind of reading Twitter a little bit, and I think people are skewed on what honor actually is, right? So you're an outlaw. You're trying to survive in the West that is being taken over by civilization, and you're the last of the cowboys, right? But robbing people. The thing is this whole game, at least every single thing that you do in this game when you rob something, you're actually robbing from corrupt people. Well, and so you're never like. It's like Robin Hood.
Well, but that was my thing about Arthur. Is it's not necessarily about the fact that he's an outlaw, because you can like it's the Robin Hood thing, right? Like he's robbing from people and doing stuff. It's more about Arthur's attitude. Like I'm writing down the thing and I'll stop and help someone, and then there'll be like a cutscene where someone asks me to go do something for them because they really, really need help, and Arthur's like being a total dick about it.
Sure.
Like he's not compliant with what the people want him to do, even though like the way that like I'm walking around the world with him is like, oh, I'm going to help everyone do everything.
Sure, but that's so much better than fucking Pretty Boy Shepherd, where he's like, oh, I'm going to help you no matter what. Like it gives somewhat of a depth to a character that he's got this idea of, you know what? Yes, I want to do good in this world, but I am still a bad guy.
Well, and that's what I was going to say too. Like the way Arthur acts, it kind of, at least for me, it gives me the feeling that there's more to his backstory than whenever I started playing as Arthur.
Well, sure.
Like he's experienced this world and done things that he's not proud of, and then so now whenever he's doing still honorable, good things, and people are thanking him, and he's like, "I'm not someone to be thanked." Like,
sure, it's like what I said earlier, right? Like Everett was like, "Yeah, I'm tired," and I drove, and I was like, "Well, we want you to be safe," and I was like, "Yeah, worried is it's a harsh word. It's like it'd be more of an inconvenience if we lost you, Everett." Like, you say that, but I would do anything for Everett. You know what I mean? But I still say shit like that. It's the same morality there. It's like, yeah, I think to a certain extent, I'll help somebody, but I'm just going to be like, fuck, man, I have to help you now because you're a fucking dumbass. Yeah. You're not a dumbass, Everett. I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about people. It's like, you know what? If you didn't fucking, go into the tall grass, you wouldn't have got bit by a fucking snake, you dumb piece of shit. Now you got to fucking suck venom out of your leg.
My whole thing is like...
that happens in Red Dead.
I have not come across that one.
I don't know that I would necessarily change anything, because I do think that the cutscene Arthur Morgan is an awesome character.
Sure, oh yeah.
But I do wish that there was a little bit of how he acts in the cutscene taken account into some of the ways that he interacts with people when he saves them. Because, of course, like, sometimes there is that thing, right? Like, I'm trying to think of a non-story thing. Actually, all the ones that, like, come to mind are in story stuff.
For what?
Of him, like, acting like kind of like I'm going to do this, but you're a fucking moron. But when I think about things that are just ambient quests in the world... the way that he's just kind of like weirdly pleasant seems out of character, and it doesn't ruin the game. It doesn't ruin him as a character.
You need to get further in because he's not pleasant.
I had one that I could kind of use an example. So I went and did the where you start to learn how to hunt, and it's the legendary bear.
Yeah.
Obviously, I stayed and I wanted to fight the bear, which was fun. And after skinning the bear, getting his pelt, putting on my horse, I'm riding away, and then there's like a woman who her horse is collapsed on top of her. Mm-hmm. So then I go and help pick it up, and then she's like, "Oh, can you give me a ride like back to town?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Go get on the horse, and then she's like, "Oh, well, can you make some room for me? There's not a room because I have the bear pelt." And I was like, no, never mind. You can just walk.
Well, that's a decision that you made. There's a better.
His way of his responding to it and the way she responded to him, she's like, "Oh, well, thanks for what you did."
Yeah, but a better example is there is another ambient thing that happens where a guy needs your help, and he's like, "Man, I'm lost. I need to get back to Strawberry. I don't know my way around." And you can be literally there's no option like, yeah, hop on my horse. You just say, yes, I'll take you back to town. He's like, oh, okay, let me hop on. Arthur's like, you got 2 legs, don't you? And you just start walking. And that's Arthur.
That's a good example. Yeah. It's just there's other ones too. Like
sometimes I guess, yeah.
It's just not consistent. And one of the things that the Paragon and Renegade system in Mass Effect, because you're making those dialogue choices like throughout the story and all that, your Shepard kind of matches the Shepard that you're playing.
Sure.
And that works for that game. And like I said, I don't want to change Arthur Morgan at all.
Right.
It would be interesting to see, like, in the next Rockstar game, if they take a morality system and have that, like, kind of change the way that your character acts through the actual cutscenes story.
That's one thing I don't think Rockstar's ever really done is giving us a blank slate main character. It's never been
not necessarily blank slate, but just kind of like
I think that's the only
alternate
way that's good.
Dialogue.
I think that's the only way that would work, though. Like, even, Arthur might be a bad example, but like Nico from GTA 4, any of them from GTA 5, you can't give them a morality system to follow and change their personality based on it, because that would change who Trevor is. You know what I mean?
Well, I never would have thought a morality system would have worked in a Rockstar game at all. Well,
and that's the thing. I don't think this is a morality system, because the honor system was there in Red Dead 1. It just wasn't to the extent where it affects.
Was it?
Oh yeah, it just wasn't there to the extent that it affects the world like it does now. And so it doesn't affect the world. It does affect the world, but he's still. I don't know. It's hard to quantify, because like
I kind of feel like it's more deep than most morality systems in most games, because like if I think about other games that have had a morality system like Fallout and Mass Effect and Dragon Age,
Fallout 3,
Fallout 3 specifically,
definitely not 4.
I just kind of think about those things, and it's like it's more of kind of like a journal of how I acted through the game, rather like people in Mass Effect, like until you answer like an asshole, people don't treat you like you're the scourge of the universe, even if you've been doing all these awful things. But in Red Dead, it's like everything that I do is being taken into account, and I'm being judged one way or the other.
Sure.
And the world reacts to that, and people know my reputation, and they know me as a person.
Yeah.
And to me, like, kind of playing devil advocate to what I was just saying, to me, like, in an open world game, when 90% of my time is not spent in cutscenes, like that's more valuable to me than like having a Shepard that has red, but I can still choose the blue dialogue choice.
Sure, I guess. It's you'd have to. I just don't think you could create an already written, established backstory character and have a morality system like that, right? That's why Fallout 3, Fallout 4, not Fallout 4, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Mass Effect, none of those games have a character with an established backstory and who this character is. And that's where morality systems really shine, because it does let you play out this fantasy of whatever. Rockstar games always give you, this is who Arthur Morgan is. And even in a morality system, Arthur Morgan is still Arthur Morgan, no matter what decision you make.
Well, and that's my point isn't to say like let's change Arthur Morgan. It's more like
you're just in the future.
I'm talking about more. Well, yeah, in the future specifically.
Sure.
But say they had implemented it. It's not that I want Arthur Morgan to be a Boy Scout. It's more that like after 20 hours of me just helping random strangers, when my friend or someone that I live with asks me for help, it'd be nice if like he might be less of an asshole when he says yes. Like, maybe there's a slight change in the dialogue depending on how good or bad I am.
Sure,
how my
guess.
honor is. Like, he's still Arthur Morgan. He's still going to make a joke at you and say something kind of, like, funny to you.
Sure.
And maybe a little insulting, but it'll be a little bit less insulting than the person that's on the opposite end of the honor spectrum.
Yeah,
I guess
maybe.
For me, though, like, you have to imagine, because do we know how old Arthur Morgan is? Or, like, roughly?
Yeah, he said he joined Dutch 15 years ago at...
13?
No, he was real young, I think.
Hosea says he was 13.
I think, okay, so I think I figured it out. It was he's probably 35 to 36. He's younger than 40.
So, like, if...
Because he is the youngin of the group.
Mm-hmm. So
I'm sorry, he's not the youngest, but out of like...
Well, no, because, I mean...
Like Dutch, Hosea... I think Bill's probably older than him. John's definitely younger than Arthur, but like Arthur's like...
Yeah, John...
I would say
he's
John's
young.
the youngest.
John...
Sean and Lenny are probably the youngest.
Sean, Lenny, John, and Arthur. Maybe Charles are probably the youngest ones.
Charles seems pretty old. The other black guy?
I feel like Charles is younger than Arthur.
Is he black or is he Native American?
He's half black,
He's half
half
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
But anyway, so I feel like it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if he went 35 years of being this one way, and then just because he's been nice for like 3 weeks, he would suddenly like
Sure.
make a huge change.
I
Does that
do,
make
but
sense?
I do agree with you. I think it would be kind of cool to have a main character that kind of changes based on decisions. But like again, I would personally rather have a Rockstar character be based off of a clean slate and not an actual written Rockstar character.
To me, like when I think about Red Dead Redemption, like there's just so many things about this game that are, and I'm sure we'll dive into this in just a second, but that are kind of revolutionary. Not necessarily like brand new ideas, but more the way that they handle it.
Okay.
And to me, like the idea that Rockstar would play around with a morality system and have that affect the story doesn't seem unrealistic in the way that they developed this game. Like,
Does it affect the story? I don't think it affects the story.
no, I'm saying like the idea that they could do that.
I
in
understand.
The future.
Okay, yeah.
Like I really think we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but like I would say that when you look at the open world games of this generation that are probably the best ones, I would say it's Witcher and Red Dead Redemption 2.
Sure.
And part of what
Fallout
like
4. Just kidding.
part of what sets Red Dead Redemption apart from even the Witcher to a certain degree is that like the world that you exist in is a living world.
Yeah.
People are going about their business. They're doing things. Things are happening whether you're showing up there or not. Sometimes you get like at the tail end of something bad happening and you can't stop it from happening. Like that person's going to get shot regardless. You were too late. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And it just and we'll talk about this more later too, but the attention to detail, the realism and just the groundedness of the world and the fact that like you're just kind of one person that exists in it. Like,
Sure.
I can't really think of another open world game that's had like that makes me feel like I'm actually living in a world like that. I really can't. I'm willing to be proven wrong, but
I play open world games a lot, and I can't think of anything really.
and it just kind of I mean part of the thing is they had 7 years to do this, right? Like how many developers are allowed 7 years to make a game like this?
Rockstar.
Yeah, not the only one.
Maybe
One.
Bethesda.
But it's almost kind of set for me like a new standard, like that, like comparing Mass Effect Andromeda, right, to this. It's like
It doesn't compare at all.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
It's almost like
It doesn't take anything away from Andromeda, but it doesn't compare.
yeah. It kind of makes me a little bit less excited to go
Yeah.
back to it because it's the open world sucks.
It's like
in-
I told
in
you.
Andromeda.
It's like I was telling Trey earlier too. It's weird that, for all intents and purposes, if you break down Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Red Dead Redemption to the base of a game, they're the exact same game. You're playing around in an open world and you're exploring and doing story missions and just doing things.
Right. Okay.
But in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, at almost every given point in time, I did my best to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. And that I'm not including the fact that I was trying to finish before Red Dead. Just the overall world felt so meaningless that it didn't matter if I saw a dilapidated building across the field. I know nothing's there. Nothing of worth is going to be over there. But in Red Dead, it's interesting because if you did stop at the dilapidated building, more than likely there's not going to be anything in it. However, when you do find something, it's not necessarily game worthy, right? It's not like, oh, here's this new shiny solid plated gold gun. It's a a newspaper clipping of an ice skater that tragically died, and you find his cigarette card next to it, and then you realize, oh shit, I'm literally on a frozen lake. And you go outside and you kind of like explore the lake, and the thought there is like, what if his dead body's in the lake?
Yeah.
What if he's underneath the lake right now? That little backstory that Rockstar created is there, and not in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. That exists in Bethesda games because Bethesda's fairly good at it.
Yeah,
sometimes.
But in Bethesda, it's not subtle.
It is not
like you
subtle,
walk in a room and there's a glowing thing.
Sure,
and it's like,
exactly.
read 15 pages of lore about this bunker.
And especially in Red Dead, not so much in GTA 5 because I think GTA 5 was so story heavy from Michael, Trevor, and Franklin.
Franklin.
It is Franklin.
That you couldn't get away with that, but in this game, there's just so many things to stumble upon.
Well,
and even when they're not worth it, it was just worth it to take the 30 minutes it takes to go check it out because it could have been something.
Well, I don't know if I stumbled upon something that maybe gets explained later, but I was crossing a bridge and I noticed like a little a dot or something on the map, and I was like, oh, there's something like under the bridge. And then I go under the bridge and there's like a strung up body that's like cut in half, and I'm like, what the heck happened here? Like, I don't know if that ever gets explained.
Did you stick around and like check it out?
You suck at exploring. I want you to know that. Since you're not finishing that sentence, you suck at exploring.
Yeah.
Was there anything to? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. There's more there.
I mean, because it's kind of the same thing. Like at the opening of the game, when you're going to the cabin that the O'Driscolls are at, you walk in and you're scavenging through the cabin, and you can walk over to the mantelpiece and pick up a picture frame, and you look at it and it's like, oh, it's probably the guy out there that's rotting, and also like it's his wife, and you flip it over on the back and it says Sadie and whatever the guy's name was, and you put it back down, and then as the story goes on, like you walk back in and Sadie's there, and you're like, holy shit.
Yep.
Well, I could have totally skipped that part, right, and not done that. Not had that time of like attention.
Not looked at the photograph.
I could have not looked at it, and then like I would have walked in and been like, "Who the fuck is this woman? Like, why is she sitting there?" Like early on, it like teaches you like, "Hey, like take a second and look around."
Yeah.
And then later on, when you get to like looking in a cabin and reading like a note, or when you get to a bridge, you realize that like this is almost curated for me to do something. It's not very often where you walk into a setting
it's easily
in
missed.
Rockstar. Yeah, it's easily missed, but it's not very often that you walk into a setting in this Red Dead game where, like, if it's kind of like, if there's pageantry like that, like, there's something they want you to do.
So I think another really good example of this is actually, to me, so this thought came to my... Red Dead Redemption does an extremely good job of rewarding players who pay attention. Because I picked up the lady, I got killed by the grizzly because I don't know why. I just got killed by that legendary bear, and I didn't go back for some reason. But I did go back for my hat. So I picked up my hat, and then the girl was there. Horse had fallen on her. And so I got the horse up, got her up on my horse, took her back to, I think she needed to go to Emerald Ranch. Took her back to Emerald Ranch, and all the way there, she is talking about how weird Emerald Ranch is. How in one of the buildings you can see a ghost of a lady standing in a window, and how you can just weird things happen on Emerald Ranch. And I paid attention. I listened to her, and when I dropped her off, I took an hour to explore Emerald Ranch, and it's weird. Like I haven't figured it all out yet. But there's a building, but it's with a woman, but it's a mannequin. It's a mannequin with a dress on, but that's the ghost of the woman that you can only see at certain times because the light shines into the house that it's in. That's the only way to see it. And when the light's not shining in there, it's completely dark inside that house, so you can't see anything. So when the light actually is shining in there, it looks like a ghost is there, and when it could not be there. But there's weird shit happening on Emerald Ranch. There is a saloon. I don't know where the saloon came from, but there's a saloon on Emerald Ranch, and when you walk in, there's 3 bullet holes and a kind of like dried blood on the floor. So something happened at Emerald Ranch.
It's not in use either.
Huh?
It's not in use either, right?
No, it's there. Yeah. What do you mean it's not in use?
Isn't it like
use?
In use? No, absolutely not. So something happened here, and it's dried blood, but it's not like 100-year-old dried blood. It's still got the red pigment to it. So something happened at Emerald Ranch And, you know, you hear people talking about it in the game, and it kind of furthers more and more things that I don't want to spoil. But I haven't figured it out yet. But I'm trying to.
I think I just figured it out based off what.
And that's the thing is I haven't figured it out yet. But at least I haven't finished that whole thing yet. But I think I have an idea of what's going on. But you know, you didn't pay attention.
Well,
you're that's my point. Like, you know, you're not playing the game wrong, Justin. Don't get
no,
me wrong.
but that is going to get me to my next point.
Right, exactly. So like the fact that you have just take your time, you know, that's the biggest thing. And I've never, and to finish my point from earlier, in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, from A to B, I got there as fast as I possibly could. Just get me there so I can get to the next thing that I need to do and be done with it. In Red Dead Redemption, it has taken me probably 4 or 5 hours to complete a quest, because I would start heading to the quest and just not even get close to getting there. And the quest only takes 30 minutes, right? Maybe not even that. But getting to that point is where you find all this weird shit. The treasure maps, the freaking random strangers that challenge you to a race. And then when you tell them no, they chase you like, no, come on, mister, race me. He's like, that's fucking weird.
You didn't tell her no.
Yeah, that's
Chris
true.
was like, I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah.
And she followed him. I was like, come on,
dude,
let's go. Let's race. Come on, let's do
I was
it.
in full sprint with my horse, and she's like, no, come on, let's go. And like,
so at that point, you're racing her, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's what I said. I was like, you're racing her.
Like,
and he's like, no, I'm not. I was like, she's following you.
I almost turned around and shot her ass. Yeah. She was finally like, you know what, fine, whatever. And she went the other way. It's just,
I spent 30 minutes playing dominoes in the game.
Oh, dude, that's I told
that.
Trey,
I started over, and I started over yesterday, and I got to the new camp. And I was like, I'm going to do these couple things before I go to the podcast. Sat down and played dominoes for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
like, what the fuck?
I learned how to play dominoes.
In Chapter 2, there's a mission where you have to go find the Reverend, and you end up playing poker for however long
it takes you to win.
Well, you
have to pay one. You only
have to play a hand to finish the quest.
Right.
But that was Monday. That was yesterday.
Are you still playing that game?
No,
poker?
No. I think I started, like I told Trey, I think I started at like 11 o'clock. I think I started that game of poker at about 11 o'clock, and I finished the game where I cleared the table and I won. Only won like maybe $15 total, but it was 3-4 o'clock when I was done, and I just didn't realize that I'd been playing for 4 hours. It's like, holy shit, man! That's real poker. It takes a long time to play a hand.
I got
of poker.
really into playing dominoes too. I was looking at the numbers and I'm like, all right, if she plays this, like, then I'm going to play this one.
Sure,
it was fun.
Yeah,
the attention to detail is great, and Trey said Jim from Jimquisition, Jim Sterling had a really good point about it. But
well, go ahead. So I want to go ahead and say, like, before we get into this conversation, like the reality of where I'm at with this game is that it's a solid 10 out of 10, unless like it really shits the bed for the next 73% of the game.
There's
like,
no way it does.
To me, it's a masterpiece. Like that's literally what it is. However, the reason why I say masterpiece and not perfect is because every game has flaws. So me talking about the flaws isn't taking anything away from it. But Jim had a really good video about attention to detail. No, it was about like kind of realism in video games. And I think he just makes some really good points about how Rockstar has a tendency to like focus on the realism and let it get in the way of the fun of the game. So like an example he uses in the video, which I've been running into a lot because I love hunting. Hunting is like my favorite thing to do in Red Dead Redemption 2. But he talks about how like you go and you need to kill this animal. So you start tracking the animal and you find them in the middle of the forest. You shoot them. You walk over to their body, you skin them, which is a long animation. You pick up the body, which is a fairly long animation. Then you call your horse. Well, your horse is too far away, so you have to walk towards your horse and get in range. Call your horse again. Your horse comes, but rather than your horse just like kind of appearing behind you and incoming, the horse walks to you in real time. You put the body on the horse. You jump on the horse. You go and you're heading to the trapper to sell it or whatever. And on the road, you stumble on a quest. You do the quest. And you help this person out. You get back on your horse and realize that the carcass of the animal that you just had is rotted. And it also like comes down to like character movement, which has been a problem with like GTA 5 and this game.
Every Rockstar game.
They over animate the character to such a degree that like controlling him is kind of like controlling a tank or a brick. And these aren't horrible things, but I think it's a really good point where it's like The attention to detail is amazing, but there are times where it just kind of gets in the way.
There were multiple times where I don't know if it was just the camera angle or what, but my horse was facing the camera, and it was basically impossible for me to turn around.
Yeah,
because I would be holding in a direction, and as soon as I would start going that direction, because of like where the camera angle was, it would start circling back the other way.
Yeah, I was telling Chris about that. How like controls are a completely different thing that we can talk about and kind of fit into this too. But like when you go to talk to a guy that you're riding next to, you hold L2, right? You look at the guy. In most games, when you let go of L2, your character goes, like the camera would go back. That doesn't happen in this game. So I'm still staring at you, but I'm trying to direct my horse, and my horse goes like running into your dude. It's just little shit like that.
Multiple times where I'm just bumping the person riding next to. I feel my controller vibrate like, oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, vibration came off real quick.
I don't know how you play that game without vibration, because there's just so many little things.
Super easily.
No, but like there's like the controller vibrates, and there's information from the vibrations.
Super easily.
As a new PS4 owner, the only PlayStation game I played so far has been Spider-Man. The controller, it's blue on the front when you're playing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But on Red Dead, it turns red. I didn't know that it even did that.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
the controller changes color?
The
light bar.
LED light bar on the front, I didn't know it did that. So whenever it turns red, I'm like, oh fuck, like what's wrong with my controller? Is it dying? Like I'm checking the battery.
Your controller will just turn off when it dies.
Yeah,
It won't tell you. On the screen it pops up your controller's lit.
In Destiny, the light represents your health.
Yeah.
So like as you get hit, it starts to change colors, and it turns red when you're about to die.
I actually Googled it. I was like,
is my controller dead?
I was like, oh, is this normal?
But yeah, I think that is one of the problems with the game, is just things kind of get in the way, and controls are tons of fun.
Well, I think
I mean, control I wouldn't say the controls are the controls aren't
They're not
bad.
awful.
The controls aren't Uncharted. Let's put it that way. They're just not.
That's true. Uncharted was bad, and it only could do like 6 things.
Yeah, exactly.
I just
the problem with controls in this game are there's so many, because you can do so much shit.
it's the combinations of buttons to get to
all
a certain
the combinations
menu.
of buttons. It's like you know when you're talking to somebody and you've got yourself locked onto them, looking at them. Where L2 normally draws your pistol, now it's R2 draws your pistol. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm holding both of these. Now, how the fuck do I shoot my gun?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't tell you, go ahead and let go of R1 or R2 since you've drawn, and then pull again so you can shoot. There's really no, like, real good explanation of that. So you have shit like that, and you have stuff like, sometimes it's triangle to open this thing, or sometimes it's X to do this, and sometimes it's square to craft this. And it's like, there's no centralized button to, use something. And then there's, just today, Trey was showing me how to bring up all the information that just doesn't tell you. Like, so if you want to get a perfect skin of a deer, you have to use a rifle. You want a perfect skin of a rabbit, you got to use the varmint.
Attention to detail.
Yeah, you got to use the varmint rifle. And to me, that's not bad.
No,
I don't think that's bad at all. I don't even think that's annoying. I just like there's just so much information in this game.
It's annoying. It's annoying. So the second Master Hunter challenge that you have, right, is to find 3 perfect rabbits.
Yeah.
And get their skins. The reason why that system is annoying, and why like I love it and hate it at the same time, is finding perfect rabbits is really, really hard. And I was killing them but I could probably fill up an entire cargo ship full of dead rabbits.
That's a challenge system, not the controls.
No, I was talking about I was talking about the rabbit.
No, I know, but I wasn't talking about that. But yes, the challenge system where you have to do them in order is kind of annoying.
Oh well, it's just it's not the challenge system. It's more like I was talking about the hunting and the 3-star thing. Like, not only is it hard to find a fucking 3-star animal, you also have to kill it with the perfect weapon. And if you don't kill it with the perfect weapon, you don't complete that challenge in the way that you need to.
And it doesn't explicitly tell you that.
It doesn't explicitly
unless you
you're
look for
right.
It. Even the things that it does explicitly tell you, personally, I feel like it goes away just way too quickly.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying to get the handle of a control, and it's giving me the hint in the top left hand corner, and before I know it, it's gone, and it's like I don't know how to get back to that.
I totally see how that's annoying to some. To me, the more detail, the better. personally. The fact that I have to kill a rabbit with a varmint rifle and not just a normal repeater, to me, is just, that's fucking great.
I'm totally fine with that.
Well,
I think that's really cool. The annoying part is that I have to find the perfect rabbit to kill with the varmint rifle,
Sure.
and the game doesn't tell me that.
Sure, yeah.
Like, the only way I found out was by watching a video. And the only way that you find out is that you have to study the animal, which the game never really explains why studying an animal is good.
Yeah.
And then you have to read the section, and it's like, for a clean kill, use a varmint rifle.
Yeah, and the game, you know, playing devil's advocate, the game does tell you, but it just doesn't explicitly tell you.
Yeah, but...
Sure, and that's annoying. It's extremely annoying.
Yeah. I think that, but that's a problem I think across the board with Red Dead when you start talking about controls and stuff, is that there are two issues. Issue number one is that they lock mechanics behind story progression. So like, you get a ledger for your camp where you can customize your camp. I had played for like 10 hours and did not know that, and could not figure out how to get my camp medicine and food, or medicine and ammunition. And then like, I did that mission. I was like, oh shit, I can just buy it here. The other thing is that there's a ton of shit that the game just never tells you. It never explains. Like today I found out, and I'm sure this probably happens in the story mission, because I can't imagine them putting this in the game unless it's for story. But I had my gun out on someone, and I accidentally tapped the up button on the D-pad, and Arthur put his gun in the air. I'm like, oh, I wonder what happens if I pull the trigger. Oh, he shoots in the air. It's like, that would have been handy to know at so many different times.
The game doesn't tell you that.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it does. It tells you in a herding mission.
Oh. But that would have been handy to know, like, so many times when you're holding someone up, right? Like, sure. I want to intimidate you, but I don't want to shoot at you.
I usually just shoot next to them.
Yeah.
Sure, I mean, that would work too.
But it's like such a cool mechanic with, like...
Sure. And it does. All those things come in time, and that's the thing about at least Red Dead that I'm noticing. Like I said, I got to chapter 2 and into chapter 3, and that progress number just hard stopped. Mm-hmm. So all these things that I'm learning, 30, 40 hours in, no, that can't be 40 hours into this game. Maybe
not
20,
in 4 days.
Yeah, 20, 30 hours into this game. Mm-hmm. We're still tutorial territory. We're still, even chapter 2 and into chapter 3, we're still in tutorial territory, which isn't, I don't think that's bad. I can totally see how that's bad to some people and maybe bad game design. But
I don't think it qualifies as bad or even as bad game
maybe
design.
Just annoying to some people.
I think it's just annoying.
Sure.
I get worried that I'm missing mechanics of the game. Like with an open world game, I don't want to rush through it thinking that I have to unlock certain things like later on.
Well, you never have,
and not like it, like and then find out like, oh, I'm ignoring my camp. Like I didn't realize I was supposed to be doing that, or things like that. Like I while I was playing, I was constantly trying to figure out like, okay, how do I upgrade this medic thing? How do I help my camp? I'm giving you, here's food, here's more of this stuff. I kept donating things, expecting my provisions and stuff to go up, and it just wasn't happening. Like until that's a part of the game, like maybe just don't show that.
Well, or just kind of mark like. I think the way that they handle the tutorials is actually really good. Like the tutorial for the camp stuff is it's not really about the camp at all. You're being sent on a mission to go collect debts or whatever.
Sure.
But I wish that there was just some sort of indication on these missions where it's like, hey, you're going to learn something here. That way I can prioritize the missions where I'm going to learn something over, going and doing a bar fight.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, the bar fight taught you how to fight. Fist fight.
Oh, okay.
Teach you how to block.
Yeah, that's...
Or going hunting, which I guess teaches you about...
teach you how to do all that shit, too.
Yeah.
The fishing missions, every single fishing mission has taught me something new about fishing. Every single one.
I've only done one.
Sure, but some of them aren't even actual missions. They're camp... they're called camp activities or something like that.
It's the companion activities.
Yeah,
right?
they're just companion activities. They're not part of the story. They're not a quest. They're nothing. They're just a guy. Javier wants to go fishing with you. Sweet, let's go. And I'm still every single time I do one of those, I still learn something new that I didn't know before.
Well, but and that's totally cool. I'm completely fine with like learning deeper mechanics like that because that's awesome. Like reward me for going fishing with Javier. But the part where it gets frustrating is like I spent so much time not knowing how to fish because I didn't realize that there was a mission attached to fishing.
Sure.
And then I stumbled on it like way later than I probably would have wanted to. I was like, oh man, like this is a really cool way to teach me how to fish.
Sure.
Wish I had just known to go do this mission sooner.
Sure. But that's where, this isn't Skyrim. You know what I mean? This isn't Fallout. This is 100% an open world, but it's very much a curated sandbox. It's not Fallout or Skyrim. You know what I mean?
Well,
Rockstar will get you where they want you to go when you get to it. Does that make sense? I think that might not make
I
sense.
feel like it's not as, and I kind of like this. I feel like it's not as obvious. Like, oh, I just need to go do this to get this.
Right,
like,
exactly.
With other games, you can look at something and be like, I know I'm going to progress the story by going and doing this thing.
It's a sense of discovery and exploration. Like I didn't know this, but there's more than one fence. And another fence that you find later in the game, you can create trinkets from legendary animal kills, right? And I didn't know this at all. Mm-hmm. And when I stumbled upon it, it was like, wow, this is really fucking cool. Now I definitely want to go kill legendary animals to get these trinkets. Same thing with the trapper, right? I got this legendary. I don't know what to do with it. Pearsons won't take it. You can't. And that's one good thing the game does is the legendary pelts are used for a specific thing. You cannot give them to Pearson. You cannot sell them to somebody else. Only one person will take that pelt.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you have this pelt, and it's like, well, fuck, I don't know what to do with it. You just have it, and it's a little annoying that it's going to be on the back of your horse forever. But once you find it, you're like, oh, that's awesome. Now I know what to do with these things.
There aren't storage containers in the game, right? Like, did I miss that, or is that?
I don't think
for the
so.
most part,
your horse is your storage container.
Okay.
Well, but also your inventory pretty much holds everything. Like there's a cap,
like an item limit.
Yeah, there's an item limit per item, but like for the most part, your inventory holds everything it needs to hold.
But as far as like pelts and stuff go, your horse pretty much holds all that. You can't put like 19 fucking deer pelts on your horse. You can only maybe hold one or two, but
because that's what happened whenever I got the legendary the bear skin.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I didn't know what to do with it, so I had to Google. I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? Well,
that's the thing is like if you're playing the game organically, you would already know, oh hey, Pearson's asked for pelts. Okay, I'm going to go to Pearson. Pearson would have said, hey, I don't want that. However, open your map. There's a guy that'll take it. The game tells you all of this. It's just a matter of either stumbling upon it or again, paying attention. Because if paying attention, Pearson's wants pelts.
Yeah.
So if you get a pelt, you take it to Pearson.
Well, I knew, like, as soon as I got the bear pelt, I knew there was something special about it.
Sure.
So I wanted to know what the best thing to do with it was.
So
So I just Googled
sure,
it.
yeah.
But part of the thing that it comes down to though is that like there is, again, I think that I enjoy more the discovery aspect of this game than I thought I would have, right? But part of the thing about an open world game, especially a Rockstar open world game, because no Rockstar game has ever been this mechanically deep. Like, not GTA 5 doesn't even compare to, like, with the amount of activities and stuff that you have. But I think that kind of does come down to a little bit of annoying game design. Because if you're going to have this open world game with so much shit to do, there's a certain level of expectation that maybe you think around the way that a regular person is going to go, right?
Sure.
Like, the Chris's of the world are going to go straight to Pearson and be like, hey, take this pelt. Whereas, like, the Justins of the world are like, I got a pelt. I don't know. Gotta Google this, right? And
I skipped that last cutscene, so I don't know what to do with it.
And I would say, I would say that the amount of players that exist, like Justin, as opposed to the Chris's,
sure,
there's probably more of them.
Sure, which could have been easily remedied by Rockstar having a giant prompt on screen at some point in time saying, if you don't know how to do something, press start and go to your compendium and read. I think if that would have came up on the screen at some point in time, I think sometimes maybe a lot of these arguments would be alleviated.
Well, or even introducing the idea of the trapper before you go on that legendary animal hunt. Like,
I mean, you stop in town to buy like fucking bait and shit. So yeah, you're right. Like, why not have the trapper be on the way to the bear? And it's like, hey, this is the trapper. He sells bait and other stuff, but. And he's like, oh, if you find any rare pelts, just bring them to me.
I mean, or it doesn't even have to be that obvious. Like, but I just, like, the trapper wasn't even a thing introduced in the game whenever I did this mission.
And again, none of these things are awful. None of these things make this game any less of amazing. But
No.
it's, you know,
These are tiny complaints.
And I feel like if you would have picked up the pelt and pressed down on your D-pad, it would have said check with Pearson's. I feel like I was watching somebody play this game and they got it and they pressed down and it said take the pelt to Pearson. It wasn't like an explicit quest step where the little yellow line led you there, but I feel like, or a little thing popped up and said check with Pearson's.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that was somewhere.
I also didn't know whenever I killed it and I got the little prompt like, you're not able to carry all of this some item.
Yeah.
So then I'm like eating like wild carrots and stuff, trying to open up item space.
Yeah.
And nothing was happening.
That happened
I kept
to me.
like, I would walk by the bear carcass and I'm like, do I recut you? Do I pick you? Am I supposed to take the carcass? Because up until this point, I took the rat. Can you?
Yeah, you can. Oh, I don't know if you could pick up a bear.
No, you
carcass.
can't.
Okay.
When
I
you
was like,
when you
I
pull the
left it.
pelt up, that has all the meat and shit. That
Okay. Well, because in the hunting thing before that, you skin the rabbit, you have the meat, and you also have the pelt separate. And then with this, it's like you just cut the skin off the bear, and then that's all you need to take.
Well, that's all because you can't put a bear on the back of a horse.
Right.
I assume, but I was also I got on my horse, I threw my lasso at it. I'm like, maybe I'll drag it.
But you do get meat. Like if you check your inventory, the meat's in your inventory.
Yeah.
Well, but that happened to me too, where I was hunting deer. Again, hunting is my favorite thing to do. Which I found out about the trapper before I did that, just because I was looking at the map and I saw a paw print and I was like, "What is that? Oh, it's a trapper. I'm gonna go check that out. Maybe that has to do with hunting." And
It's a weird spiky thing. It's not a paw print.
And looks like, I thought it's a paw print, with like a circle around it,
like a bear paw print.
I don't think that's not what it looks like to me.
There's a traveling trapper.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, no,
it looks like a bear trap.
There's one trapper that has like 3 permanent positions, and his is like a bear paw.
Oh,
But
I was going to the same one. It's like northeast of Blackwater. That trap. That's the one I always go to.
But my inventory was full on deer meat, and I opened up my inventory and I was like, why won't it let me pick up the deer meat? I'm like eating carrots and like oat cakes and shit. And then I look and I'm like, why is that 5 oh fuck.
Cook the deer meat.
Yeah.
Which is also like that's another thing that like I'm so glad I figured that out on my own, because cooking
there's a whole like
the camp or the tent setup.
Yeah, there's a whole thing that explains cooking to you in one of the tutorial missions.
Oh, I guess I figured it out before the tutorial mission.
Yeah.
But like that, like knowing to cook deer, like cooking meat and having that on your inventory is the most valuable item that you can carry.
Yeah, the well done venison meat or whatever replenishes your health, your stamina, and your deadeye almost fully.
Yeah. But it's also like something that you're only supposed to do like once or twice a day, and it's not in your item part of your inventory that you can pull up with L1.
That's in provisions.
It doesn't appear on there at all because they don't want you to
it's
eat
in your
it.
satchel.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you have to open up your satchel. Which
I see what you mean.
I can't tell you how many times before I figured that out that I scrolled through like so much looking for it.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think. My biggest, and it's not a complaint, it's just an annoyance. You know, I think all these things are annoyances.
I was going to say, I don't think any of these are genuine complaints.
It's just the controls, man. Sometimes it's like, man, I want to do one thing, but I don't know the button combination to do it. But it also leads to hilarity, because I saw a video of this girl streaming. It's like a GIF, and she's like streaming the game, and she's all, oh, I'm a Twitch streamer, look at me. And she's like, she's in the stables, and you could tell she wanted to pull L2 to look at her horse and press square to pat her horse. But she L2'd square really quickly, punched her horse in the face. Her horse goes, meh, and then kicks her in the face, and she dies. It's like, genius.
There was a moment in the game that I wish I was recording. So multiple times the controls have fucked me over, and I've gotten bounties because of it. I was walking through town. A guy, kind of smarts off to me, and I'm like, I feel like it's a justified fist fight. So I'm like, I'll just punch him a little bit. He ends up dying. I get in trouble, as you do, and then so the police officers hold me up, and then I hit the wrong button. I end up shooting him, and then I have a huge bounty in Valentine, and I'm like, well, this seems like an important town. Then I had to go and get money to pay it off. I go to the post office. I pay it off. I'm like, sweet, I'm all clear. Hop on my horse. I start galloping off. Immediately, my horse veers off to the left, jumps over a fence, lands on some farmer's pig, kills it, and I immediately get another $20 bounty as I ride off into the hills.
I was telling Chris, I was riding my horse, and there was like a hill, and I was going up the hill, so I couldn't see what was on the other side of the hill. And I'm like trying to get into Valentine, so my horse is running at full fucking speed. And as I get to the top of the hill, another guy is coming, and our horses collide. And I go flying off my horse and hit the ground, and I turn around, and his horse is dead. My horse is fine, and he's dead. And I get a fucking bounty that's like $15. And I was like, I didn't even do it on purpose.
Earlier, before we came over here, Cherry was like, I came upon a murder scene, and there was something had happened, and there was just a horse in the middle of the road. So I started walking toward the horse, and Trey goes, "Hey, you can loot saddlebags." Like, and I did this like, yes, I fucking know you can loot saddlebags. And so I walked up to the horse and I pulled L2 to try to calm it, but nothing came up. And I was like, I literally audibly said, I was like, "Nah, I'll be fine." And I went to go do the saddlebag. Fucking horse round kicks me in the face.
It like
so hard.
It literally like roundhouses him. Like it like lifts its foot up back and then like whacks him.
Just I literally went flying back about 5 feet.
I was telling Chris too that like there was another time where I caught my horse because I saw a black horse and I was like, I really want this, so I like lassoed it and I tamed it and everything. Well, when you get a wild horse, it doesn't start at friendship level 1; it starts at 0, and it still has some wild tendencies. Like you have to keep it really close or it'll wander away, and you have to go track it down. Well, I was riding through some trees and trying to get somewhere, and the horse was like kind of being hard to control, and we're like running at full speed. The horse fucking like runs straight into a tree, like head first. And I look at the tree, and there's like an imprint in blood on the top of a horse's head.
At one point, I was riding a horse. I saw a really cool horse that I wanted, so I lassoed it, or I tamed it, lassoed it, and then so I'm riding my horse with this other horse in tow, and then this guy is coming down the road, and we're going full speed. He gets clotheslined between me and this other horse.
I was telling Chris too that like I was looking for horses and I kept trying to like tame them and stuff. And the first time I tried to tame a horse, I lassoed it and I'm like calming it down and trying to pull it closer. That horse fucked me up, like wrecked me. And I got really mad at the horse, so I pulled out my double barrel shotgun and killed it. And I got like negative honor points.
He is evil, dude.
Oh man,
he's very evil in this game.
I don't think I purposely killed something or someone that like I didn't mean to. You know?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, there was another time where I was riding down a road, and someone like two lawmen ran by, and there was a guy on the back of there was a prisoner on the back of their horse. And the lawman goes, "You better stay the fuck away from us. Like, we have a prisoner here. You better leave us alone." And I was like, "Well, that's not how you talk to people." And so
it's time to teach that guy a lesson.
So I went and I killed both the lawmen, and I let the prisoner go free. Well, there was a witness, so I go chasing them because we're on a main path of the road. I didn't think about it, so I go chasing down the witness, and I killed that guy. And there was just a chain of witnesses that I kept having to chase and kill,
which
so they wouldn't tell the lawman.
Which is now why I'm never playing Red Dead Online with Trey. Never.
How's that different than the way I play GTA Online?
Because there's not consequences in GTA Online.
We don't know.
There may be in Red Dead Online.
I mean, if there's consequences, I'm not going to be bad. But if there's not consequences...
There are consequences in Red Dead, and you were bad for 20 hours before you restarted.
Well, because I didn't realize people would treat me badly. I didn't realize the consequences were serious.
I just pictured Trey killing someone and just being like, "No witnesses." And then someone else sees it and he just says, "No witnesses."
Exactly how it was. That was exactly how it was. I'm like chasing people down, and I have to like kill a string of people because they kept seeing me kill the person before them.
That's really funny. But again, I really love the realism in this game. I love that I have to wear a coat in lower than 40-degree weather. I love that if I'm wearing a coat and it's 80 degrees outside, my health drains faster. Or like, it's good stuff.
Or that you can't get a haircut and make your hair longer. Like,
oh yeah.
Like
you have to let it run.
Whenever I stumbled upon that, I was like, "That's really cool." Like,
I have consumed
amazing, but it's cool.
I have consumed a hair tonic every time before I go to sleep since I started this game, and my beard is only at level 8 out of 10.
Oh no!
Well, one of the things about this game is that it has survival elements in it, right? Like you have like the cores.
Yeah, if you don't eat,
things that you have to maintain. It is really impressive how they did not make that annoying.
Sure.
like maintaining that stuff is actually kind of cool, not annoying, and it goes down to like you were saying earlier, like it's cool that you have to like wear the right clothes. You need to make sure that your horse has warm and cold clothes there.
Not the horse. You just have to have clothes on your horse.
Yeah.
For a second, I was like, I don't have any horse clothes. I'm not there yet.
Where the hell do I get horse clothes?
But like Chris was. There was like an hour earlier where Chris and I were basically just like tutorializing each other, like telling each other things that the other one didn't know about the game.
I was on Reddit, and there was a surprisingly large amount of people that did not know how to manually save the game.
I mean, I guess it's semi-hidden.
It's kind of hidden.
Yeah, it's kind of hidden.
It's different than most Rockstar games. Most Rockstar games, you have to go to a bed to manually save,
Yeah.
but it also autosaves, so you don't need to.
Yeah. Well,
But-
I mean, most games in general, the save is just in the first,
The
just
first
in,
thing.
just in your menu.
Sure.
But Chris had died, and he came back, and
I died because Trey was like, "Hey, you need 3 knife kills."
it's amazing how much nicer to me when it's just you and me.
He goes,
Because I was like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
he goes. He showed me challenges because I knew challenges existed. I just didn't really know what to do or where to get to them or whatever. So he's like, "Oh, you know, for huntsman or something like that, you need 3 human knife kills. Killed 3 humans with knives." And so like we stumbled upon this thing where these 3 guys are shooting their gun. I was like, "Oh, I think I can at least get one of them with a knife." And Trey's like, "Yeah, let's just try it over there." So I like sneak around and I go to like jump out and it's like, "Ha!" And they're all, "What the fuck?" And they're just like shooting me and like
He actually gets out of stealth.
Yeah.
They're just all dead eye you.
Yeah,
Just
dude, it was fucking terrible. I just got wrecked hard.
Did you know that there are challenges on missions too? Because it never tells you that.
Well, that's
Rockstar
every
game
Rockstar
has
game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, usually it gives you some indication.
But Chris's heart was red, and he was like, "Oh no, am I gonna die soon?"
Yeah.
And then it's like, "No, you don't die." Like, and I had to explain like that. You can let that run out, but it just means your health is going to recharge slower. But you can if you bring it back up, your health will recharge faster.
And if you eat the stew at the camp, it gives you gold heart and gold stamina thing for a while. I didn't know that till literally 30 minutes before we came over here.
But like every other survival game is just really fucking annoying. They're all
Yeah,
just like
they can be.
It's very rare. I don't think I've ever played a survival game and been like, this is fun. It's fun to feed my character. It's fun to like try to stay warm.
Oh, see, I love that. And that's how I play Fallout 4 with
But
like
that- but I
heavily
don't think
modded
it's-
Fallout 4.
I don't think it's from what you've
no,
told
no,
me. it
heavily modded Fallout 4.
does- from what you told me, like the mods that you have in there aren't like it's not the same
Sure,
as it
I
is in like
guess.
Rust
Yeah. Oh, okay, sure, I guess.
or what's We Happy Few and all that.
Yeah,
Well, there are games that throw it in your face, like, "Oh, your character's dehydrated. Oh, your character's overheated," and it's like, no, just like figure out like the cores. Like, just show me in a very simple way that things aren't going at like as
Sure.
good as they should be, and I can figure out how to fix
also
it.
it rewards players to learn how to, but to be prepared, right? So like I'm prepared if my heart core goes down because I've made food, you know what I mean? Or I'm prepared to heal myself because I've made sure to find or buy plenty of tonics. I've got more than enough ammunition. Yeah, I've every single revolver round. Every time I get new revolvers, I go to a campsite and craft hollow point rounds because they do more damage and they fly farther. That's another thing. So if you
Didn't know
go to a campsite, you can take every bullet and you basically make a hollow point bullet. What do they call them? Like they're called split rounds.
Yeah.
Oh,
And you just
okay.
take your knife and you split the bullet, and what happens, right, in science, when the bullet leaves, it spins, flaps open, so when it hits, it leaves a bigger impact. That's what a hollow point bullet is. Anyway, you can do that in game, and so every time all my revolver cartridges are split point now.
It'd be real nice though if that could move a little bit faster.
Well, it kind of I mean, you can totally craft at a better pace than Destiny.
It moves faster than other crafting in the
Sure,
game.
yeah,
But when you have 200 rounds, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah. Yeah, I wish there was like a craft all type thing. That's very true.
It would be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice. What did you guys think of the first? You know, hey, we're trapped in the snow. Are we going to survive? Like, I thought that was amazing.
That was really cool.
Yeah, I fucking loved it. I loved how the game at the beginning kind of had like a little bit of a Hateful Eight vibe.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But I also like how by the time that you finish that, it kind of leaves that vibe completely behind, and you sort of understand the camaraderie between Dutch's gang.
Yeah.
Like, you start out and these are just dudes and they're all kind of being mean to each other, and then by the end you're like, oh no, like they all kind of care about each other.
Sure, yeah.
And you kind of have this thing with Dutch where you're like, I don't know if I trust you.
I
I don't know if you're being genuine or not.
don't know if I get that one. I think I get more of a you're changing, Dutch. You're not the way you were when I was 13.
I got that too, but there's also sort of like a snake oil salesman.
I
thing
get
about
that
him.
from Micah. Like, Micah's a little
Oh, yeah.
fucking asshat.
Yeah, I'm not a
shady.
fan of Micah.
Yeah, he's extremely shady. And later on in the story, too.
I don't know what. Okay, then we need to stop for a second because I need to unplug it and plug it back in. All right, thank you.
Yeah, I get the shady vibe from Micah, but like in later missions, he says, he's like, hey, we're brothers. We're part of Dutch's gang. So, not necessarily whether you like it or not, we have to love each other. It's like, I love you like a brother. We're part of this gang together. And that kind of like, that statement almost makes me think it's like, okay, I guess I can trust Micah. He's just a fucking asshole.
It's just his personality.
Yeah, it's his person. Like there's points in this game where I'm thinking it's like, if somebody turns, who's going to turn? Like, oh, it's Micah. It's totally Micah. But then he says that, and it's like, oh, maybe it's not Micah. I don't know if anybody's going to turn. I don't know how the story plays out. But if somebody were to turn, it's like, who's going to turn? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a certain level of like, I think they have a bunch of little different plants that kind of make you think like, oh, like you trust everyone.
There
but
are a lot of plants in this game.
I meant like
Lots of animals.
I think there are just like a couple characters at any given time. It's like I could see you thinking you're doing the right thing and going
Sure.
against the gang.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Hosea is kind of that character. Like
I kind of got that vibe from. He's tired. He's tired. He's old.
But also he doubts Dutch. And one of those, but it also comes down to Dutch too. Like early on in the game, I was starting to get annoyed with how much Dutch was telling Arthur, like, "You don't trust me."
Sure.
When you leave the mountains and you're going down to, start chapter 2. Dutch is like, "You can ride with Hosea because I know you guys like to talk about how I'm losing my way," and it's like, dude, I literally have like just fucking done everything you said in the last 2 hours, like. Trust me. It's fucking annoying.
That's a 26-year-old not understanding how they talked back then. Like
25-year-old.
25. Sorry, that's your young.
I'm playing a hipster cowboy.
I understand that.
This is all obvious.
I understand that, but that's like I don't get that vibe. That's just two me's talking to each other. Right, Dutch is just a different me than my Arthur me. Like that's how I would talk to myself. And I think it just shows the not culture age gap. I don't know what you want to call it, but that's how you took it. But that's not how it was delivered.
But it's also the way that everyone talks to each other about Dutch, though. Like there's a certain reverence that everyone seems to have about Dutch.
Of course.
And to me, like
your problem with authority is 100%. Going into this whole idea that you have about Dutch, I guarantee
I just feel bad for Arthur because there's so many times where Dutch is like, "You're doubting me, you don't believe in me, like you hate me," and Arthur's like, "No, I fucking love you. Like I'd do anything for you."
Sure.
And it's like, where is this coming from, Dutch? Why are you acting like this? But then there's also just times where
it's because Arthur is questioning Dutch. He's questioning him every single time Dutch says something. Arthur questions it.
I personally always took it as this is the end of the Wild West as they know it, and Dutch is very aware of it, and I'm sure he hears the ongoings of everyone kind of questioning his thinking and questioning his decision making, and I don't know. I get a little bit of like his paranoia of he doesn't want his gang to turn against him. Like,
sure,
he's worked really hard to get where he's at now.
Well, that's also kind of why I have these doubts about him too. Is that like Dutch is a character that you see those interactions early on. Like he I don't know how to describe it. Like it's almost like he's sort of lacks like confidence in himself. Like he's almost self-conscious about the way that people are viewing him.
Sure.
But then when he gets up and like speaks to the group, like he's a completely different person. And even the way that he interacts with other people, like especially when you establish the camp, like he's kind of not that fatherly figure a lot of the times. A lot of the times he is kind of a dick.
Sure.
Like Arthur will walk by him and he'll say something crazy to Arthur that's just kind of like out of left field, and it's like, what are you playing at? I just don't trust him. I feel like he has too many masks.
I feel like Trey's Arthur just wants to pull him off to the side and just be like, "Hey, like, are we okay?
Oh no, Arthur and I are
is something
nothing
wrong?"
alike.
No,
He's
talking about if you were Arthur, you would pull Dutch like, "Hey, is everything okay?"
Sure, but
like,
I would not.
okay?
I would not be a good Arthur. I would have died like 15 years
well,
ago.
and that's my point. I think, like, I mean, this is 1899. This is literally the turn of the century where my style of thinking, i.e., Chris, brash, harsh, to the point. I don't want to deal with bullshit right now. Let's just fucking get this thing over with. If there's a fight, let's deal with it right fucking now. That is the turn of the century. But in 2018, we're in this culture where it's like, oh, I don't want to make anybody mad. I don't want to, I don't want to deal with confrontation. So when there is confrontation in these games, it's like, then different people take things different ways. I don't take anything you're saying. I don't see any of that in Dutch. I just see a man who is wanting to preserve the life that he is used to and preserve the life that he's willing to fight for. And he is 100% a snake oil salesman.
I think
by going about it, but I don't question Dutch.
But I think part of it is that the knowledge of the Red Dead Redemption and kind of how that game ends up, and how like the place where John starts at the beginning of that game.
Sure.
I think that also kind of flavors it a little bit,
possibly.
Right? Like,
yeah, maybe.
I think to a certain degree, like I can't remove the knowledge that I have.
Sure, but nobody's ever said what actually happened to Dutch's gang.
No, but
so we don't know if Dutch is the one that ruins this whole thing.
Well, it's not. It's more the way that Dutch acts at the end of his life. Like he uses people to make him like to survive.
Sure, that's what he's doing now. Are you talking like right now?
No, I'm talking at the end of the first Red Dead. Like he's using the Native Americans. He's manipulating them.
Oh, Red Dead Revolver.
Red Dead Redemption.
Dutch isn't in the original.
Yes,
he's dead by then, isn't he?
No, the last part of the game is you killing Dutch.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
John is sent to wipe out the rest of Dutch's gang.
Right.
But yeah, he's like using the Native Americans and
sure. I mean, that's what he does, though. That's Dutch.
Sure,
he's even doing that now. To an extent, he's using everybody in the gang to further his plan.
That's why I don't trust him.
Yeah, but that's what everybody does. Right? Everybody does that. If you're a leader of some sort, you're using everybody to further your plans. Right? That's what America does. I mean, the American government does.
Maybe, but like interpersonal relationships, like I wouldn't say that we're all friends and our friendship is real to me and I'm not using any of you guys for anything. Now, if you guys are using me, I don't want to know because obviously I have problems trusting people.
Well, to an extent, you're using us to further some sort of video game journalism thing, right?
No, not really. I mean, of course, if things work out.
I also think you're using in a very negative term, and I am not. You're using us like I use keys to start a car.
Well, it's the same thing. Like we talk about this all the time with the podcast. Like, yeah, it's great, and if this turns into something that's awesome, but like if tomorrow someone sent in the group like, "Hey, this is affecting our friendship. I don't want to do this anymore," we would stop, right? Like it's not
sure, but that still doesn't mean you're not using us to further a video game journalism career.
Is it using if we're working towards a mutual goal?
Sure, because I'm not working toward a video game journalism career.
I don't know. I wouldn't view our relationship in any way good or bad.
I'm not using as a negative term. I'm using like we use the soundboard to control our mics. It's just a thing that we use.
Yeah, but if we're not using it to control the mics, then it doesn't have value.
Exactly.
But like you guys have value to me if we're not recording a podcast.
But it does have value, right? It has value for what it does.
I mean, I guess maybe value is not the right word. If we weren't using it to control mics, it doesn't have a purpose. And so there's no reason for me to own it.
Sure.
There's no reason for me to have that soundboard around in a world where I'm not using it to control mics.
But there's no reason for me to be here either. You don't need me to get a journalism career going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I like hanging out with you and talking with you on a mic.
But that's different. We don't necessarily need this thing, but I like it. It's pretty. It's got nice knobs and shit, but we don't need it.
All right, guys, we get it. You guys, we're all friends, and we have.
Are we friends,
Chris?
But yeah, I don't. Just to me, I don't personally. And it's different mindsets, totally different mindsets, which I think is exactly what Rockstar is going for. Yeah. It's like, somebody who comes from I get this group of guys. Like I get, like fuck you, Micah, get the hell out of here, or The Reverend, you're just a stupid fucking drunk. That's all you are. That's all you're going to amount to
God,
be.
I wish I could kill him. He's so fucking
Yeah,
annoying.
but that's what I mean. It's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but in real life, a lot of us wouldn't be like, dude, you're a fucking drunk. I hope you die. Justin sure as hell wouldn't say that, but guess who would? I would 100% say that to somebody that I vehemently hate, like I hate that Reverend.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I get this group of guys, and I get, and like I said, totally different things. I love it.
Someone could play the game and be like, man, Micah, great.
Yeah, somebody could be like,
I
you know what,
really
I really
would like to meet that person. To, like, have them try to convince me that Micah's great.
It's the voice actor for Micah.
Sure. And, real quick, they're also doing such a really good job of this is a dude story. You know what I mean? This is a sausage fest of a story. However, early on, I was like, well, shit, all they're doing, they're just using Karen and Tilly, and who's the other girl that's not Abigail? Karen, Tilly, and Mary Beth. The gang just uses them to get information from guys, and they're okay with that. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but it's like, it's kind of demeaning. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, man, that's the best you got for a gang that actually has women in it. But then the older woman is like, she's the mom of the group, which is like, that's still kind of stereotypical.
But for $18.99,
but then, what can I say?
I wouldn't say anything because I didn't know it until I saw you playing earlier, and I got a little sad that I know that now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't say anything because that's something that I didn't want to know.
Okay, so like, but are we talking about the same thing here?
I think we are.
The
Tread lightly.
Sure.
I would imagine you guys are probably talking about the same thing.
We can confirm off mic later, but I'm like very confident that we're talking about the same thing.
but then they handle that so well. And then later on there's missions where you actually like help women's suffrage groups, and it's like, it's really fucking cool. Yeah, it's cool. At first it's like, man, they're just going the fucking stereotypical like women in 1899, they're just secondary to men. But then they do things,
Take a
and
turn.
it's awesome.
But it's funny though, because I didn't see it like that. Like, super fucking like, liberal feminist Trey. Like, to me, it was almost I guess I kind of saw it as what I would assume is an accurate representation of kind of gender roles in 1899.
100% is.
It's they're in their own way, like as women in that world, they are kind of lost souls in the same way that every person in that gang is.
Sure, 100%.
And you have that mission where you early on in the game where you escort them into town, and it's like, oh no, they really like doing these things.
Yeah, of course. That's why I said they do this because they want to do it. So I don't have a problem with it.
I think it's just, but and the I totally got knocked off balance of what I was trying to say. I guess for me, like, there's also that kind of idea of them using the guys for protection, right?
Sure.
Like, there's a certain level of stability that they expect from the men.
Yeah.
And they're willing to provide in that case, but they're not going out and, like, shooting up a bunch of O'Driscolls.
Sure.
That are doing bad things towards the gang.
Sure.
Speaking of, like, there's two more things I kind of wanted to touch on before we kind of, like, wrap this up. I want to talk a little bit about the way that that Rockstar kind of handles race, which I think is far more than I expected. At the beginning of the game, it kind of seems like they're ignoring the fact that there are black cowboys and an Indian cowboy.
Oh, no, they 100% do not. I've heard that N-word drop like multiple times.
At first, it's kind of like they're not trying to acknowledge it, and then kind of towards the end of the tutorial, it's like, oh no, this is a thing.
Yeah.
I was going to say early in the mission, like, there's a couple dudes that are like, especially to Charles. Mm-hmm. One of them, I can't remember who, but one of them is like extremely racist to Charles because he's Native American and black.
Well, and then there's the line of like, whenever they get back to the camp and they're going to, or Arthur has his own room.
Yeah.
And then they send, I don't remember who it was, they send him to go sleep with the colored people.
I meant, like, specifically at the beginning of the game, like, you have Micah says something shitty about race, but like, it's Micah. Like, of course Micah's going to do that. But aside from that, like, in the tutorial portion of the game, like, race isn't really acknowledged at all. Even when you have that section of the game where you're exploring with Charles.
Sure, probably also because it is just you guys. You know what I mean?
Well,
it's just the gang.
Let me keep going.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm taking this to a place, and I think
you're taking too long. Just kidding.
I keep getting interrupted. So with Charles, like, you kind of don't really acknowledge it. It's a thing. Like, Micah makes his comment, but Micah's an asshole. Then at the end, Micah makes another comment, and you're like, okay. And once you get out of the tutorial section of the game, and once you start having like those parts where you're interacting with Lenny and you're interacting with Charles, and I forgot the Native American guy's name.
I thought that was Charles.
Charles is half black, half Native American. Lenny's full black, and then there's a Native American guy who's full Native American, the one that takes you on the Buffalo mission. I don't know his name.
I thought that was Charles.
I haven't done that mission yet.
No. But then, like, once you kind of get out in the world, I think it balances that really well. Like, it doesn't ignore the realities of what it would be like to be a black cowboy in 1899, but it also like explores the fact that, like, it goes back to the brotherly part of Dutch's gang, where it's like, of course, Micah's the only one that's going to have a problem with this. The rest of us are just like, can you contribute?
Sure.
Cool, hang out. I think it balances those two things really well, where it's not like, it doesn't feel like they're just including black people because
sure,
they need to
of course
include
not.
black
There's a whole mission you go on with Lenny later on, where there's a gang later in the game called the Lemony Raiders, and they're basically dudes who fought in the Civil War and fought on the wrong side and have formed this gang in the South, and they're racist. And you have this entire mission with Lenny, where you go try to steal a stagecoach from him, and Lenny fully lays out for Arthur, I'm black. In 1899, you have no idea what this is, and Arthur's like, shit, man, I just didn't know, man. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You know what I mean? And it's just really, they do not shy away from this whole race thing at all, which is great.
Yeah, and it's awesome because it's not like, even with GTA, like, race is a part of that game, but I don't ever think they handle it in any sort of like meaningful way. They don't handle it poorly, but it's never like, oh man, like, let's talk about the realities of being a black guy in 2016, you know?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, I wouldn't say GTA handles anything in any sort of like serious way, though. I don't know.
And GTA 5, they kind of did with Michael. Like, Michael's whole thing about mental health is actually like kind of dark and sad. And then the other thing that I wanted
But then he gets high and jumps off of a plane and floats down in neon lights and shit like that. I don't remember why that mission exists, but I know it's there.
To have you wake up like naked.
Is that one of those weed missions?
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but Michael's like, I think you jump out of a plane and you just fall forever, and there's neon lights everywhere. It's like, what is happening?
The other thing I want to talk about a little bit is the way that they handle John. I really love John Marston as a character. Like, I think looking back, I was watching someone play like the original Red Dead Redemption. It comes off as a little cheesy, like, you know, 7 years later. But I really like him as a character, and I think the way that they kind of balance him, they make him important without putting the spotlight on him. But I feel like I get enough John, and I was worried that I wouldn't. I was worried that they were going to kind of like try to avoid John to focus more on Arthur, and I love the way that they balance it out. I feel like I'm getting the perfect amount of John.
Well, honestly, I don't. That's one thing I really like. Yeah, I agree, but I agree more so because I don't think this game's just about Arthur. I think this game, especially later, past you guys, it seems so much more that it's not just about Arthur. You're just playing as Arthur. This is 100% about Dutch's entire gang.
Yeah.
Sure, you're, like I said, you're Arthur. You're the main character. You're the main protagonist. I wouldn't even call Arthur the main character because he's not. I think Dutch is 100% the main character because what's happening is you're just playing as Arthur doing all these things, but this entire gang, and you, like you said, you'll see it later on, is all out doing stuff. So every time you come back to the camp, they're like, hey, I got this lead. Can you help me out? Or, you know, they'll be like, hey, we not Arthur, we brought back this load of stuff. It's like, oh man, this world is, and they're not, I don't know if they're actually doing it right. I don't think this is happening in game.
You could stumble upon them.
Yeah,
doing
but in the story as a whole, this entire gang is contributing to the well-being and the idea that, you know, liberty should still exist over this American government that's starting to pop up. And I think it's just, yeah, Arthur is, you know, the main character of the game, but he's not the main character.
I definitely agree with you. I think that you're totally right, but I just meant in the sense that, like, I thought that they would move John out of the way to kind of like not create that conflict in someone that's played the first game.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think the game's about Arthur.
Yeah.
I would actually probably agree that to a certain, you can make an argument for Dutch being the main character of the game and not Arthur.
As someone who didn't play a whole lot of the first, or not the first, the first Red Dead Redemption, I'm actually happy with the way they went with this, because that was something I was worried about going into it, that it was going to be a lot of cool revelations for John's character, like cool for people who played the original Red Dead Redemption.
I feel kind of bad that you haven't, because I think
I'm sure there's moments that I could like really glean from, or like really cool stuff like that.
It's not. I'm not even talking like Easter egg territory. I think if you would have played one, if you would have played one, how the gang, especially Arthur, sees John really solidifies the story in Red Dead 1. Does that make sense? Because like in Red Dead 1, John goes around and hunts down the rest of Dutch's gang. And you're just like, well, he was part of this gang, right? And And in this game, you're like, this is his brotherhood, you know? But the way, I guess, you know, again, I don't want to give anything away, but John has done things that just pissed the gang off. And Arthur does not respect John in any way, shape, or form. And I think that really solidifies the story behind Red Dead 1. Why John was so, I don't know, I don't want to say open about being rebellious against Dutch, but just his reasonings for, because let's be honest, man. John Marston in this world is a snitch. Well, he agreed to help the FBI. He went and hunted down his old brothers. You know, he did all these things for freedom. Right, but he was in this world, he's a snitch, and it's interesting seeing, even just through the first 2 chapters of this game, how the gang sees John. They still work with him, they still want him around because he contributes, but especially Arthur, man, the way Arthur just does not respect him is really, really fucking cool.
It's also cool too, because like to a certain degree, with the way that they handled John in Red Dead 1, he's kind of like a white knight.
Yeah,
he's really
totally.
not. He's just kind of like that gruff, like kind of less funny Han Solo-ish character.
Sure.
And he doesn't always do the right thing, but he mostly does the right thing.
Sure. He's trying real hard.
But with Red Dead, like with Red Dead 2, they immediately like set up the fact that John is not perfect.
Yeah.
John has made some huge mistakes. He is
in the confines of this gang.
Yeah. He's done some bad things, but you also know that like the relationship with his family's just so much different than it is. You know that in Red Dead 1, like the gang betrays him.
He betrays the gang.
No, the gang betrays him. He leaves the gang. They leave him for dead. He leaves the gang with Abigail and Jack, and then they go to start their family. And then the feds hunt him down and are basically like, we're going to arrest you and throw you in jail for the rest of your life.
That's what I mean by he betrays the gang.
Yeah. But like it starts out with them kind of like, they betray him first, and that kind of like...
They give him a reason to make the flip.
His family, plus the fact that like he doesn't owe these guys anything.
But again, to your point, they give him a reason to flip, but in this game, it's very apparent that he has given them a reason to leave him. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But he's not perfect, and the way that he, like early in the game, the way his relationship with Jack and Abigail, it's so much different than it is in Red Dead, and he's not a great person, and not only in the sense that like
in this game he's not.
Yeah, and not only in the sense that like he's not great to the gang because he's not following their ideals, he's also just not a good man. Yeah. He's just in every sense of the word.
Yep.
And again, he's in the spotlight the perfect amount. They don't ignore him. They don't shy away from using him. But again, he's not the main character.
Yeah.
You can probably make an argument about how like this is a great prequel for him, and there are certain times where he's very much front and center. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I said, I really like that dichotomy of that. Like I've seen in the first 2 chapters why the gang left him at the beginning of 1 or in between 1 and 2. I get it. I would have too, to be completely honest with you, because he's like Tracy. He's not a good person. He's not. He's still there and he's contributing, but there's missions in I don't know how. No, there's not. Yeah, there's missions where you you take Jack fishing, and it's like, why the fuck isn't John taking your son fishing? You know what I mean? It's just like that, and it's like, He's just not a good person, and I totally get why at the beginning of 1 he was left for fucking dead. And again, it's just interesting. It's just cool. It's really cool. It's just a really cool how they work that in. I'm interested to see. I don't know how many chapters there are in this game. I don't know where it goes to. I don't know how it evolves. I don't know. No fucking clue where it's going to go. But I'm interested to get there. You know. Also, something I have noticed, and now you're going to notice. Arthur coughs a lot.
It's because he smokes.
Arthur's cough is bad. Just saying.
Because he smokes.
Never noticed, but now every
You're gonna
time
see he coughs quite often.
So do Dutch and Hosea. I noticed that with them too. It's like it's because they're all smoking all the time. Like in every cutscene, Arthur's like sitting there with a cigarette.
Not every cutscene.
A lot of them.
they didn't have vaccines back then either, so they all probably have something.
They all have the black lung.
No, but I'm just saying tuberculosis ran mad back then.
ran rad.
Oh.
It was rad.
Are you saying that you think he's sick?
That's what I think.
No,
Maybe.
there you go. Call it.
One thing I'm super interested in is that in Red Dead 1, you find Red Dead Redemption 1, you find a lot of clues that talk about Dutch's old gang. You end up hunting down Javier. You end up hunting down Dutch. You end up hunting down Bill. You end up hunting. Who all do you hunt down?
It's just Javier, Bill, and
Dutch.
Dutch, and then Uncle lives
as
with
well.
Abigail
Yeah,
and Jack.
That's right. And so, but you do end up throughout the course of Red Dead 1 pretty much finding about almost everybody.
Good chunk.
Good chunk. I feel like I remember reading about Micah in Red Dead 1, but Red Dead Redemption 1, but
It's been so long.
it has been a long time. But I'm positive the name Arthur Morgan never shows up in Red Dead 1. And he is a very important part of Dutch's gang, and I would very much like to know how Rockstar justifies that. How Rockstar justifies a character like Arthur Morgan not playing, I don't want to say a role in Red Dead Redemption 1, but plays some sort of thing. You know what I mean? Because I do think John's learning from Arthur very, very much. And that's the way Arthur treats John. I think John's getting it. I think that polar flip that John has is because of Arthur. I would very much like to see how they justify Arthur Morgan in the lore of Dutch's gang, since he literally wasn't in 1 at all. He was never made mention.
Well,
the way Dutch talks about Arthur, I don't understand why we didn't have that interaction in 1 with Dutch. Because you talk to Dutch for a little bit, not forever. But it's just weird.
Because it's funny, I didn't realize this, but the Red Dead Revolver, the first game, has nothing to do with John Marston, has nothing to do with Dutch's gang. It's like this really weird random story that doesn't make sense. So it's funny because when you look at Red Dead Redemption, knowing that like Dutch's gang and the people in it weren't established characters before Redemption came out, like the amount of like kind of lore building that they're doing here is really actually impressive.
Sure.
Like retroactive lore building almost.
I wouldn't say retroactive because they're not changing anything. Nothing that I've come to so far, they're not retroactively changing the story of Red Dead 1.
Just expanding.
It's just expanding,
Yeah.
but like just having a character like Arthur Morgan be so integral to Dutch's gang and to the way that gang evolves, and him not even being mentioned in 1. I'm interested to see what they do.
Well,
there's something there.
Does Arthur
Right.
turn, and so they just wiped him off the freaking lore of the game? I don't know.
I mean, it's part of me thinks that like, you know, I kind of believe. Also, we need to like make it perfectly clear as we're speculating through the story here. As far as I know, none of us have seen any spoilers.
Nope. Nothing.
Yeah. I have no idea how this game ends. I'm very much dodging it. I won't even go on like the Red Dead parts of this of Reddit. So this is just me speculating. If it happens,
I'll click on the funny gifs because they're funny.
Yeah.
if it happens to be the case that this happens, like, cool, whatever.
Yeah, it was
speculation.
purely
I mean,
speculation.
But I kind of believe that Arthur. I kind of believe that the game is driving towards the gang just kind of imploding, and I think Arthur is going to die at the end of this story, and it suits the tale that they're telling because a lot of people talk about how Red Dead 1, Redemption 1 is about the end of the Wild West, but you start to realize, like, as you're playing this, like, no, in Red Dead Redemption 1, it's 1911. The West is done. It's over. It's over by the time you start that game. So the themes of the actual ending of the West and the long drawn out death and the fact that no one wants outlaws and no one wants this world, that they want it to be civilized and they want to settle it down finally. You see that playing out with Dutch's gang, like we've talked about a couple times, and it seems to me that it would be sort of a fitting end that like the game ends with the death of the West, and part of that is Dutch's gang is dead, and maybe Arthur's dead too. To kind of justify the fact that he's not in the next game.
Possibly. I'd rather see just Arthur leave personally. If he and again, this is just Rockstar does a great job at romanticizing the West. I think like if Arthur was going to die, to be completely honest with you, I'd rather him die of tuberculosis. I'm serious.
Right.
It's just something that I would rather just see Arthur die naturally than get shot to death like John did. I think John's death in 1. Sorry, Justin.
No, I know.
Okay, I think John's death in 1 was it's perfect. That's exactly the way that man should have died, and it was perfect. But I just don't see a character like Arthur Morgan deserving to die in a fucking shootout and be left for dead somewhere outside of a fucking barn.
Yeah.
Like I would like to see this character naturally live out whatever the rest of his life is, especially with there's some romance stuff later, but I don't know if you guys are there yet.
No. I've seen.
I've
seen a little bit of his past.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, like the one thing that you got to take away from Redemption 1 is that I remember at the time I was not expecting that ending at all. Like that ending for me came completely out of left field. I did not expect it to end there, and I didn't expect to see you playing Jack at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So I guess I have to believe more than anything else that the ending of this game probably I won't expect either.
I think so too.
And
for
for a game that's very much grounded in realism, I could see them pulling something like that. Like,
is it grounded in realism? You can punch your horse.
I could go punch a horse right now.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And I would probably get roundhouse kicked in the face.
That's true. However, you're also like, I think as Arthur, I think I've murdered well over 300 people. That's not real at all.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the Uncharted problem, right?
Sure.
I think in Colin Moriarty's review of the game, he was like, I kind of wish that the game gave me more options for getting through interactions peacefully. However, I also think that like if that was a mechanic, it would probably make the game a little bit less fun.
I agree.
I think part of the fun is when you're riding on a horse and you just get headshots.
You dead eye like 4 or 5 dudes. It's
or you just get a natural headshot. And you're not even trying to get a headshot. You're just trying to shoot the guy so he leaves you alone and you blow his head off. You're like, yes.
It's true.
Yeah.
This game is not real. It's romanticized hard.
Well, yeah.
Actually, I think every Western thing romanticizes the West. Like Tombstone, how cool would it have been to live there? Like just watching that movie, that's all you know about that's all you know about Tombstone, Arizona. That's it. How cool would that be?
Rockstar,
super fucking cool.
The West does.
Here's my history of reality slap. The West was not fun to live in. However,
it was smelly.
However, I've said this multiple times. If I could go back and be born in a different era, it 100% would be at the turn of the century.
Rockstar does a really good job of romanticizing a lot of bad lifestyles.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Like, I never wanted to be a drug dealer until I played GTA
5. Before we finish, all of these things makes me super excited about Red Dead Online. I cannot wait to get into Red Dead Online and drink hair tonic after hair tonic to grow my beard.
I can't wait to play a hipster cowboy.
And have Trey as a hipster cowboy
killing everybody.
Riding on his like dainty white horse.
If I can get a donkey or a pony, that will be my steed.
like I said, and I'm on this like giant fucking Clydesdale war horse, huge beard, and Trey's over here, no hat, right, undercut, clean shaven.
If I could be
undercut,
nice.
If I could have
you can have an undercut in this game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can shave the sides of your head and have just the undercut.
It'll be it's all the faded options, and then you just have to turn the slider until it looks like an undercut.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guess who? Yeah.
Guess who's all over it?
Yeah. If I could have a 3-legged pony that I could ride into battle, that'd be cool too.
I don't understand.
Is that a sex joke?
I don't know. Is that a sex joke?
No, I just kind of feel like it reminds me of a tricycle, and I don't know.
and the thought
just seem kind of into tricycles.
No, that's unicycles.
Also tricycles.
I don't understand. I don't think you could ride a pony with 3 legs.
Why?
Because it's as you just can't. I think it would throw the horse off balance.
What if the leg is in the middle?
Then maybe.
Yeah.
But instead of like galloping, you would be like, you'd be like hopping, right?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
go home and like look up videos of 3-legged horses to see if it's possible.
I just don't think it's possible.
Get back
You're
to us.
probably right. Like,
It just doesn't seem physically possible. But I also am not a physics major, so I don't know.
I will say though, like seeing the customization options for just like your saddle and everything else, it made me believe in
Had
them.
no fucking clue I was gonna be able to customize my Arthur as much as I can.
Yeah, it made me
no fucking clue.
It made me believe in like, because part of the thing that we worried about was like, am I gonna have like a fucking like rainbow horse that I'm
Sure,
running
yeah,
around on?
yeah.
I believe in it a little bit more.
And you can 100% have your horse's hair be faded from fucking blue to red
Blue,
if you
yeah.
want to. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? So stupid. And in ponytails,
I will say,
Braids.
braids. There we go. That's
I
what was
never customized Michael, Trevor, or Franklin because
I did their clothes.
I did, but they would always
didn't-
change back.
I let
didn't-
Trevor grow his beard.
I didn't at all, because I kind of was like, you guys are just people, and like you're not my characters.
Sure.
Like you're doing your own thing when I'm not playing you. So
Sure,
I
sure.
don't want to do that. With Arthur, it's like every detail is customized.
What'd you guys name your horses?
Winchester.
I had I used the PlayStation horse for a little while, and her name was
His.
Winter. Oh, mine was a girl.
Really? The war horse was a girl?
Yeah, her name was Winter.
My war horse is a dude. That's interesting.
Do I get a war horse?
I don't know. Did you pre-order
the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, then you should have it.
Where's it at?
It's at the stable. It's the Andraste or
a free horse.
Anase or something like
I
that.
didn't see a free horse in there.
Then you probably didn't get it. You probably didn't pre-order.
No, it's the
I did
Namaste.
pre-order.
I don't believe you. And then when I got my black horse, I named it Dusk.
I named mine Appleseed.
Not very original.
I don't know how to name a horse.
Name it like you would name a dog.
I don't know. I don't see the similarities.
I said I would
Except
name my horse
it's your
Appleseed
pet.
on the podcast, and that's what I did.
I don't know. I don't feel like the horse is my pet though.
It is. You're like best friends.
I kind of feel like I rely on my horse as much as it relies on me.
So you're using the horse.
We're using each other. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, I named mine Winchester.
Nice.
I also customized my own Schofield revolver. And if I could name it Trust, I would, but I cannot.
Can you not name the weapons?
Not that I know of.
Oh, you can name your outfits.
Oh, how do you do that?
So
just save it as
when,
custom, right?
When
'Cause
you
every-
save it as custom and you go over, you can select the name and it gives you
Fuck.
the option to rename
See,
it.
I didn't know that. It's because, like, like if I'm on my horse, it's like, fuck, custom outfit 1, 2, 4, 5. Which one is it?
Well, the thing about those the outfits that you can buy, I kind of believe that they're not. In Grand Theft Auto, I felt like the outfits were there, and then they made the single items from the outfits. In Red Dead, it seems like they built the outfits from single items. Does that make sense?
I think you just said the exact same
No,
thing.
no. I said the opposite.
Oh.
I don't
You
follow.
had outfits, and those created the single items. It seems like the outfits in Red Dead they took single items and made them into outfits.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Why?
Just because there's
So, like, if I was in Grand Theft Auto Online and I went and bought a black suit and it was an outfit at the store, all those things would unlock. I would get the black tie and the white shirt and the black overcoat, and I could wear it as an outfit, but I would also get the individual pieces
yeah,
of
and you
clothing.
could use those pieces however you wanted.
Right.
But like it seems like in GTA, the
No,
outfit.
I'm talking about that's in GTA.
That's what I'm talking about. In GTA, it seems like the outfit comes before the individual items. Like Rockstar sits down and they make an outfit, and they're like, "We have this outfit, and now you have the individual items."
Oh.
It seems like they cobbled the outfits in Red Dead together from individual items. Like
Sure.
it seems like it was made specifically in that. I don't know.
Got it. I just never thought about that. It's like the same amount of customization in GTA Online and Red Dead.
Well, because I just noticed that like certain outfits use the same pieces; they're just different colors. Rather than having like different pants like you do in GTA, it's like, oh no, this outfit uses these pants. You just need this color if you want to look like this.
Well, I mean,
Well,
you
it's
have there's different pants.
Well, it's like
you
a-
can go
No,
buy
there
different-
are different pants, but some outfits use the same pants.
Well, like a wardrobe department,
Oh.
a wardrobe department for like a movie or a TV show, they would find period pieces, things that would be common in this era, and then just combine them to make the outfits.
But this is
so you're
real.
probably right.
This is real. It's not a movie.
What?
Exactly.
This
You
made,
guys like
this made
what we
more
do.
money than movies. Okay.
If you guys like what we do, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play Store, YouTube, wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. You can follow the show on Twitter at Twinstick Radio or on Facebook at facebook.com/TwinstickRadio. We are all on Twitter as well. I am at Darth Trey. Chris is at Short Change Hero with a 3 instead of the E in Hero. And Justin is at Justin T. Lopez. Show is produced by Everett. Give him a follow on Twitter at The56th. All letters, no numbers. And our theme song is by Connor Manning. Give him a follow on Twitter at Connor13. 1 N and Connor, 13 spelled out. And check out the stuff he does for Downstream Studios. Hire him to make the theme song for your podcast. I went straight into the outro and my co-host immediately were like texting.
Well, yeah, I got nothing because I'm hungry and I want to go get something to eat.
I just want to go play Red Dead.
I know, I like that too. But
I've learned so many new mechanics just from our conversations.
it's good shit.
Yeah.
I also want to play it. I don't know if I'll be able to. I think you go till 10. I would like to log into Fallout 76. That'd be nice.
Well, goodbye, friends.
Goodbye.
Bye.
I'm going to smoke.